doesn't want to go as planned, hit a couple bumps, you know. But we're back. Okay. Hood Stocks, thank you everybody for coming back on. I see you. Always love. No delay. We like that. See that? Yeah. Do some jumping jacks right now. Now we showing off.
Right.
Yep, Rosenberg, punching back.
All right.
I love that, bro. You always say that. I watch your videos, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so, were you a boxer?
Well, I did some martial arts, but the origin of that is, a lot of clients, they say, hey, Rosenberg, my current lawyer, he's not doing shit, bro. He's not fighting for me. I need to make a change. And so the point of, hire a fighter is that we're just not going to just take shots. We're not going to sit at trial and just watch them hit us. We're going to punch back. We're going to push back. We're going to assert our defense. And we don't always win, but most of my clients, as long as they know their lawyer is pushing back, doing the research, coming up with arguments, then they're satisfied.
Yeah. So they got a fighter on the team. Yeah. I mean, I've had some public defenders, man, and man, they were not punching back. Mm-hmm. They weren't punching back. I mean, at the end of the day, if you have what do they call them? Public pretenders. I mean, once upon a time, you were one. Were you punching back when you were a public defender? Like, did it vary? How does that work?
So when I was a public defender, everything was new. My first day, here's 55 files. Rosenberg, you're in Department 1, and, go figure it out. There are good public defenders. Public defenders have high caseloads. They have to deal with every client. And as a result, they can't have a 2-hour meeting with a family member in their office and really find out what's going on a case. So us private lawyers, we're blessed. We have that luxury to really invest in a case. But when I was a public defender, everybody always thought I was private.
Yeah.
So what I learned early on is that, this is my office.
Yeah.
Right? When you see me, this is the person that's going to be sitting next to you at trial. And so, there's that meme where you see the dude with the khakis and the the tweed, and it's all disheveled, and they say, if your lawyer looks like this, you're going to jail. The point is that you want your lawyer to be jury friendly, to be persuasive. And so, but as a former public defender, there's a lot of good people there. Again, the caseloads are high, and there's really no incentive to
win or lose,
to just be a rock star.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, though, you have your, you have your pride, you have your, missing the word right now, brother, but
integrity, maybe.
Integrity. You have your integrity, bro. You know what I mean? So you said there's no incentive. You're not gonna, there's not a win and there's not a lose tally being kept. And in the beginning of the day, hey, Rosenberg's got 50 fucking wins. You got, there's no. But you have your integrity. So I mean, there's got to be certain cases when you're a public defender that you said, you know what, this is a real case. This dude's getting screwed over. I'm gonna fight a little harder for this dude. Or how about when you get that dude that's a fucking asshole and he's like, what the fuck, whoa, whoa, blah, blah, blah. You ain't doing shit for me, blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, what? My man, fuck this dude.
So one of the benefits of being, a paid lawyer is that the client does have more respect for the lawyer.
Yeah.
And they know that there has to be this collaboration. So when you just see the lawyer, you're like, oh man, why don't you do that motion? Why don't you do this? Speedy trial rights, 1381, all the things that they hear in the dorm.
Yeah.
The lawyer's saying, look, bro, here's what it is. There's a lot of facts against you. My opinion, low term is a gift. They've spent 5 minutes on the case. But as the private lawyer, we're acknowledging all that, but you want to see Rosenberg get you a result. Yeah, right? If I get you high term with every enhancement and you waive your back credit, you're like, Rosenberg, why do we hire you? And so the challenge of each case is to find the way to get that result for the client. So they say, hey man, this guy is, he's legit.
Yeah. That's tight.
That's the challenge. And the integrity part, I think, earlier I mentioned being able to look at my client in the eye. Even if things don't go our way, I can genuinely look at my client and say, look, we did the motion to suppress. We challenged every single element of that wiretap. I even challenged the constitutionality of the statute that they used against you. So my clients want to know there's no stone unturned. And then sometimes, we will take a deal. But the point is they're not worrying, in reception, oh man, what if my lawyer just did that? I can't believe it. Why didn't he just interview that witness? I told him time and time again. That's what you want in your defense.
So what's the difference from when you were a public defender? You're a private lawyer now. Mm-hmm. What's the difference in working with a DA? Is there a difference?
So there is a difference, I think. As a private lawyer, I actually travel all over. So most of my cases are in LA County. I've done Sacramento County, Imperial County, Fresno, obviously Orange County. And each courthouse is different. So when you're the lawyer who's in the same department, we call that the calendar lawyer. So there's a calendar prosecutor, calendar DA. You guys see each other every day. And in my opinion, the incentive to shake it up and really try to do something is reduced because, it's the caseload. I've got 25 felonies on my docket today. So
this is you as a public defender.
This is as a public defender. Yeah. In a way, there's an element of familiarity breeds contempt. So what I like to do, especially in the smaller counties where it's a small town practice, you can get home teamed very easily, and they're like, well, who's this guy from LA? We deal with our people. A good example of that is basically almost every county outside of LA, because we have the volume and there's a lot of lawyers here. But the challenge is to infiltrate that and to show up at 8:30, be the first guy in the room, start making friends, start advocating for your client just by how you treat people.
The rip, yeah.
And, I have been successful in very difficult counties, very, inbred counties. And, it takes a long time. You have to build up those relationships.
Yeah, rapport, right?
In my opinion, prosecutors, what I've noticed, okay, so this is the thing I want to say. When you're young, everything is beating heads and everybody's trying to come up and the prosecutors are unreasonable, high term. The prosecutors that I deal with now are seasoned prosecutors, and it's much more professional. Not that we, get along, we play golf, but we have that professional respect.
Yeah, mutual respect.
And I can sit down with them and I say, look, this is what we're looking for. Here's why you should give it to me. And, I just did that with a big, the guy had the work. He had a lot of weight in the car. He was looking at over 17 years because of the weight enhancements. He had 8 controlled substance sales-related priors. Yeah. But I was able to craft him a deal where we wanted him to go upstate because we wanted him to get enhanced credits. So he's probably going to feel a little more than a year. It's a complicated thing, but the point is I'm dealing with a senior narcotics prosecutor in San Diego, and I was able to sit down and advocate for my client by being professional.
Yeah. Being professional, being mutual, being respectful, laying down the facts to him.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that, this is the person who's trying to lock my client up for double digits. These are the people who are trying to put my guy down, life in prison, LWOP. But at the same time, in my experience, you get more by having that cordiality.
I mean, how hard is it sometimes dealing with these people? Because, you can get, you can be having this dude that ain't had no pussy in probably like fucking 6 months, you know what I mean? And he's just fucking in a dickhead fucking mood, and you're just like, damn, bro, you're going through something. Yeah, do you ever deal with that, or any type of like people go through shit, man, and depending on what they're going through, can dictate a person's fucking life.
So the analogy I use, and you guys haven't been to my office, but if you ever go to my office, you'll see exactly what I mean. The way I see the practice of law is it is a lot like martial arts. So people say, hey, Rosenberg, what are you gonna do, bro? What are you gonna do for me? And the answer is I wanna see first what punch is the DA gonna throw. Once I see that punch, I'm gonna block, I'm gonna counter. So in the course of doing a case, we don't always know exactly what the maneuver is, but if I see it in that moment, I'm going to implement it. And that's how you get these results. You don't get these results by sitting there and reading from a little script to the jury. You get those results when you connect with people, the judge, the prosecutor, the juror, and then they realize there's more going on in this case than what I read in the report, which is Rosenberg's guy is horrible. Rosenberg's guy deserves to go down. That's my experience.
So check this out, bro.
Yeah.
So I knew you, I discovered you, through your Instagram,
Okay.
and some of the fellas in the circle, you guys were following each other. And, I watch your videos, man. You talk about punching back, this and that, and talking about, what went on in court. And I was like, this dude's pretty badass, at least what he's putting out there, And so coming up to this podcast, the past previous days, I do my little promo thing. Put a picture of you, Hood Stocks, Saturday, 2 p.m., Nicholas Rosenberg.
Okay.
So on doing that, the past couple of days, I've been getting messages about you. And these are from dudes on the streets. And they said, look, that dude Rosenberg is fucking legit. And I said, shut the fuck up. He said, bro, one of my boys, he said, I got busted with 2 guns. I just got done doing 5 years. Rosenberg went in that courtroom, fought his ass off, got me 16 months with half. One of my boys, I don't want to put him out there, but he's doing big things in the boxing world. Mm-hmm. Daughter, huge things about, sponsored by Nike. And he said, look, my son was fighting, they were trying to get him on a murder he didn't do. Rosenberg got into that courtroom, sent him home, got him home. Beat the case. I mean, bro, and these dudes, and I got a couple other messages, bro, but I'm just saying, bro, like, appreciate you, man. I mean, you're legit. You're hood certified. Like, I mean, you've been doing this for a while. How many years you been doing this?
I've been a lawyer since 2004.
Since 2004. Mm-hmm. And when I heard Rosenberg, I said, all right, Jewish, who's Jewish in your family, if you don't mind?
My dad.
Your dad, yeah. Rosenberg, of course, he's carrying the last name. And your mother is Italian?
Yeah, and part Jewish. There might be a little Latino in the mix, you know how it is.
Yeah.
In the real world.
I mean, no, this is LA, it's a melting pot.
Real world, right?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. So what's crazy about that is my pops is Russian Jewish.
Okay, right.
Yeah, my pops is Russian Jewish, and my mom is Mexican and Nicaraguan. I mean, this is LA, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's cool, because when I saw your, you got a famous last name, bro.
Well,
That's a famous last name, right?
It's all good, I just want to go back to what you said, if I can.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm a humble guy. I try to, I have a little swag because I think it's helpful.
Yeah.
But the way that I get cases is the guys say, hey, inside the lockup, they're like, hey, Rosenberg.
Word of mouth.
And that's very important to me. If I get a jail call, I will take the call. I'll set a meeting, even if it doesn't go anywhere, because I want the guys to know, hey, Rosenberg is trying to make himself available. He's reaching out. So I do appreciate it when someone says, hey, man, this is the story. And I think I have an idea of which case it is. And that's why I do what I do, especially these crazy, impossible, life in prison, those cases.
You love the challenge.
If I can pull my guy out I mean, that's a win. Look, 10,000 LAPD, 1,000 district attorneys, LA County, 8,000 sheriffs. If we get the win, we keep that win.
100%, yeah.
So that's how I feel about that.
I mean, that's badass. I mean, you're the lawyer. You're the lawyer to have, right? Someone that feels like that. How much do you love gang members, prostitutes, and crackheads? How much do you love them, bro?
Well, that's
and there's a reason why I asked that question.
So
how much do you love them?
Those, I think here's my answer. So my
you know
answer,
where I'm getting at, right?
I'm actually not sure.
Okay.
So my answer is, look, whatever the accusations are, whatever the allegations are, whatever's in the report. I had a client, and so when I first started in LA, I did cases with Homeboy Industries.
Yeah.
And I had a client, and I went and met him, and he has strike priors, and he's got a robbery with a gang enhancement. It's a 15-year top. And I look at my guy, and it was the first time I'd seen anybody with facial tattoos like that. Okay. And so he's got it here, 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 and here.
Yeah.
And it took me a little while to realize I have to go and look at my client in the eye.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking my client in the eye, and then all of a sudden, all that went away, and I'm like, I get what everyone else sees, but I'm here, I have to do that. And so the point is I don't judge my clients. Some of them, they're doing their thing, and that's what they do. That's what it is. They don't need their lawyer to say, oh, bro, come on, why'd you do that, man? I had you this fucking perfect deal, and you really effed it up, and woo, woo, woo. Because the real world is, yes, that happens. So where do we go from here? Prostitution cases, yes, I've done some. I've been successful getting people diversion, avoiding adverse criminal consequences. As far as, quote, crackheads go, yes, I've done simple possession and what we call 11-550 under the influence. The challenging cases for me are people who, they're looking at the 10-kilo enhancement.
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with, major narcotics, LA County. We're looking at some time. So how are we going to defend that case?
Yeah.
We've got wiretaps. If the wiretap hits the jury, it is, as they say, it's all bad. So what are we going to do to attack that evidence and defend the case? That's the challenge, but in a way, that's the magic, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And the reason, back to the reason why I asked that question, bro, is because if it wasn't for all these fucking fuck-ups, these fucking criminals, I mean, you wouldn't be able to do what you do, And it's crazy sometimes because this is my perspective on the situation. I've been in the system, and there's been times that I'm just like, I'm in the system. I'm in a prison yard, and if it's a CDC employee or if it's a CEO, it's like, bro, you need to treat us a little bit better because we are employing you. Mm-hmm. We're employing you. We're putting your kids through college. Our fucked up lives, what the stupid shit we're doing is keeping you in business. So be cool, man.
Right.
Stop being a dick. When you see me, hey, a kitchen lady, when you see me, smile. Smile. Why? Because you got a job because of. Mm-hmm. That's how I used to think, bro. I still feel the same way. You know what I mean? So check it out, bro.
Yeah.
What's your backup profession? Because when God comes back down to earth and it restores peace and justice, you're going to be without a job, bro. What's the backup plan? If you had a backup plan, what would it be?
So I think I mentioned that I did go to film school, and I do have creative outlets. So I think, my fallback is, Rosenberg, executive producer of XYZ Crime Show. But I do want to say one thing is that, when I do my meetings, I tell people all the time, hey, I don't expect you to know this because it's not on TV. And so much of what is out there in entertainment is misleading and is just not what really happens. So I could work on that maybe.
That's badass. And that tells why that tells a little bit about yourself by you're willing to come on Hoodstock's podcast. You know what I mean? Because of what you see that could potentially be in your near future on, doing a fucking crime show that's legit, It's not leading people. Sometimes I think they do that just to, kind of color it up a little bit, right? Or maybe they just don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't have the right legal dues. Maybe they need you on the fucking executive producer part, and, lead them the right direction, But that's dope though, man. That'd be tight.
Let me see, Lucky, if I can go back to something that you said, because I want to talk about it. So in the criminal justice system, there are these symbiotic relationships that really don't make sense, right? I'm a CO, I'm a prison guard, and I'm a peace officer, but what I do all day is I supervise these people. I can devalue them, and I see them more as objects, not that we're all part of a system. But if you approach criminal justice from a rehabilitative or restorative justice standpoint, you can still have the same players, but now we're working in a different system. Now I'm investing in you. I'm trying to assist you in a growth and help you on your path. Then after incarceration, we want to see you succeed. We want to see you, even if you've got a felony, be gainfully employed, maybe pick up a trade.
Yeah.
That way we're all engaged. Instead of having these separations, then we're coming together. And I've talked to cops, especially third floor CCB in the prelim, and I might be on a gang case and I'll say, hey, just so we're all good, do you guys support Homeboy Industries? Right? Because to me, if you're a police officer and you're only interested in criminalizing youth, doing the FI cards, then we're missing out because we're spending a ton of money on this stuff. So to me, if the officers are like, yeah, man, Father G, I'm good with it. Let's do some rehabilitation. Let's do some education. Let's do some prevention. To me, law enforcement, that should be a natural fit. As they say, just saying.
That's you asking them that, or they're asking you
No,
that?
I've said that to
Yeah,
them.
you're asking them that.
Their gang cops are always coming down on everything and criminalizing everybody.
Yeah.
I'm not myself someone who identifies as a, quote, former street gang member, but there's a lot more going on than what they testified to in court, which is that people get together. It's all about respect. It's about intimidation. They actually describe street gang members as urban terrorists.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is, like what you said, if you're working a civilian job in CDCR, if you're working in, corrections, we really should have the same goals.
And the goals is to rehabilitate. Move forward in a respectful manner with each other.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example, and this is just public policy stuff. As a private criminal defense lawyer, I don't engage in the advocacy, but when I was in the nonprofit sector, San Francisco and the Tenderloin, I was a restorative justice advocate, and we dealt with a lot of this public policy stuff. But there was a program in Fresno where they were giving incentives, tax incentives to employers who were willing to take a chance on somebody with a felony jacket who's got a felony conviction and give them a job.
Right.
So what happens when we do that is we are investing in people. And this is what I say to people all the time. I'm like, look, the guys who are inside, these guys are all entrepreneurs, right? They are salesmen. They read people. They've got tremendous amount of energy. The guys are reading their file. They're reading up on the law. And what they're missing is somebody who's willing to take a chance. Someone who's going to say, hey, I get it. I see it, but I'm not judging it. And in 20 years, we can put you on this path. But again, I don't judge my client. That's not everybody's lifestyle choice. My role in the system is when they're coming down on you, I'm trying to keep the system fair by defending you. But like you said, we're all in criminal justice. In a way, I have more in common with the cops than I have with my family members. Why? Because we're in that system. Now, they see things their way, I see things my way, but, different jersey, but we play the same game.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Seems like you really enjoy what you do, man. Like, you are freaking both feet in, and, I mean, you're swinging for the fences, man. It seems like you deal with a lot of homies, too.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, I
Because
appreciate that.
the little impression that you do, man, and, I mean, it sounds like the homeboy down the street, I mean.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
So I think this is what it is. In the course of doing this practice, I learn from my clients all the time. The guys tell me, hey, Rosenberg, don't you know, bro, 50 is 33%. And they've been saying that for so long, and now finally it's true.
Is it true now?
Yeah. No,
It's
it's
33% now?
finally on CDCR website.
Wow.
But what it is that, representing these cases, it's a way of showing people something that they've never seen, because what they've seen from authority figures, teachers kicking you out of school, detention, truancy officers, juvie judges, these lawyers, is everyone's judging.
Yeah.
And I try not to judge. I try to say, look, this is where we're at. This is what we're doing. And the clients who are bearing the brunt of it are the guys with a lot of ink, right? Wherever that ink is.
Yeah.
And the cops will come to them, write them up in an FI card. So in a way, these are the marginalized people, and that's what I do. So yeah, like I said, I do enjoy it because it's a hard fight. But I see clients come back to me and they're like, hey, Rosenberg, here's what I'm doing now, bro. I'm doing roofing. I'm doing good. I'm making 20-something an hour. Me and my girl are getting married, whatever it is. And I know that I may have been a part of that, but they're on their own. They're doing their thing. They're doing their choices.
Get satisfaction out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
For
tight.
sure.
What do you think about, like, the homies, gang members? You know what I mean? Like, are you intrigued by them? Or are you just like, damn, these are fucking idiots, Or, I mean, you don't actually want to say that, but I'm just saying, like, when you sit down and have a conversation with them, and then you go have a conversation with a regular person out in the regular working class world, bro, like, how big of a difference is that?
So I think what it is first of all, my clients, when they meet with me, they need something from me.
Yeah.
So, they're going to juice me because they want me to give them as much energy as I can. So I focus on their case and I get a result. So the interaction is different. When they see me in the window, it's not like, well, we're in the dorm and there's 60 people and it's 5 a.m. and we're doing push-ups, whatever it is. But with the attorney, it's an intimate relationship and they give me respect. So I don't necessarily see, all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, the cases involve firearms. They can involve acts of violence. But what we're trying to do, we're just focused on one thing, the evidence, and what are we going to do in this case?
Have you ever represented somebody, like, say, on a really violent offense, maybe a murder, and you're like, damn, this dude is guilty as shit, and still, like, how does that work?
Okay, so this is the cocktail party question. So, we're standing around and whatever, I'm swirling my Cabernet, and someone says, hey, Nicholas Rosenberg, woo, 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 what do you do? I say, I'm a lawyer. What kind? Criminal defense lawyer. Oh, how can you represent all those guilty people? Oh my God, woo, woo, woo.
Yeah.
And so the answer is that they're not guilty, but going in further with that, like, I want to go back to this judgment thing, right? Because you walk down the street and the cops light you up, and they start doing an FI card. There's other things going on with the lifestyle that I may not understand, I may not know about, but I perceive it and I'm willing to give it respect. So, some of these cases are legally defensible self-defense.
Yeah.
That's the law in California. Is that good? Is that bad? That's my job.
So you find an angle, a positive angle to look at it and be like, man, this dude was trying to get him, man. He just defended himself and he fucking blew his fucking head off, you know what I mean? I'd have done the same thing. You know what I mean? So if I was in this position, how am I gonna fight for my fucking freedom? This is what we're gonna do, big dog. Blah, blah, blah. That's cool, man. You know what's crazy too, man, is that you I wanted to comment it a minute ago, man, but you say whoop-de whoop whoop. You know, that's that's LA street slang right there, man. So that just tells the audience right there, man. He's dealing with a lot of fucking homies, man. But hey, check it out. We got a couple questions right here.
All right.
You want to maybe check out?
Sure.
Let's see what we got
I can't see it on the monitor.
Yeah, let's see. Hey, shout out to Jennifer Jackson. Jojo, I see you, brother. Smiley, I see you. Let me see. Okay, so we have one viewer asking that is it the new law that lifers have to, in order to get out, if a lifer gets out, I don't know if you know this or not, but if a lifer gets out, does he have to parole from a PC yard? Have you heard anything about that?
So the person has an indeterminate life term and they're able to get parole. And it seems like the question is, can they be in a PC yard and parole from that, or do they have to go to a mixed yard or a GP yard?
It seems like what they're doing, the rumor has it that, and we had a lifer call in on a phone the other day. And they're saying that what the board is doing is they're saying, all right, you're a lifer, okay, cool. We're going to grant you parole, but you need to get off this main line, go down to this PC yard, and then you're going to parole from this PC yard. Have you heard anything about that?
I don't know if I've heard that, but here's what the guys are upset about that I hear about is, well, first of all, the quote PC yard, the SNY special needs yard, that became about half the prison system.
Yeah, for sure.
So, we don't have to get into the 2-5ers and all that stuff. But the point is in my opinion, after the step down, when the guys from the SHU went into the main line, this could be, being paranoid, but I think that some people in CDCR didn't like it. They were upset. So it seems like the move to take people from SNY yards and put them into GP, knowing that there was a security reason for the firewall, is setting people up for failure. And so I have clients saying, hey, bro, Rosenberg, I don't want to sign the waiver. I don't want to be, because, if stuff goes down, I'm going to do what I have to do. So I worked with the lawyer. We had a client who he had separate litigation from the Asker litigation, and we followed the step-down program very carefully. I myself have visited clients at PBSP SHU. It's a very involved process. Again, what's the goal of CDCR? They added the word rehabilitation again, right? So to me, look, there's prisoners, there's politics, there's racial alignments, all that stuff, those institutional things. But the reality is after incarceration, people get out.
Yeah.
So what are we doing to invest in people so that they have skills so they can move forward? So that's a roundabout way of saying I'm not familiar with that concept that you must parole on an indeterminate term in a, quote, PC yard. I'm talking about the so-called mixed yards and some of those problems.
Yeah, for sure. I get you. Now, it's just been just recently, and on this, like I told you on this podcast, it was the subject came up, and that's supposedly what CDC was doing. And, like the guys were talking to me about, it's like a kind of a setup for failure. But
real quick, I had a thought. So in the state system with the budgets, I know that they were adding more programming in the SNY yard, so more educational opportunities and more programming. In other words, the guys who were previously in the SHU, when the way they were programming, they weren't spending any money on it, and that was a disparity. So uneducated guess, Maybe they're saying that you have to go into these programs as a little step down before we'll grant you parole. That's just a guess. There's plenty of people who may be on an IFC who have something different to say about that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's hit another question real quick. Okay, how do I go about getting my felonies lowered to misdemeanor, or can I get expunged if my last case was in 2011? I have multiple felonies through the years.
Okay, so the first thing is that under Prop 57, certain felonies have been downgraded to misdemeanors. There's a petition process that you can go through. The best example is grand theft, and then they made it if it's under $950. Now it's simple, quote, petty theft. To get something off your record expunged, and we were talking about this earlier. So the first question is, if you had a felony conviction, were you sentenced to more than 1 year? Because if you were sentenced to more than 1 year, whether or not it's a prison commitment, whether you ever set foot in a prison, or whether or not you did what we might call county prison under AB 109, then you're not eligible for what people call an expungement. Under those facts, you can apply for a certificate of rehabilitation, which is a prelude towards applying for a pardon. But let's say you got felony probation, no more than 1 year in county jail, and then you completed your term of probation. In order to take that off your record through an expungement, then we're looking at, after that, what are your contacts with law enforcement, and essentially, have you shown rehabilitation? If you've terminated your probation successfully, done all your classes, paid your fines and fees, and then you have a period with no new arrests, then most likely you'd be eligible. So the answer is the criminal history after the felony is determinative of your eligibility for relief to some extent.
So if somebody wanted to go, how does somebody go about that in regards to getting their, inquiring about that? They go through an attorney like yourself, right?
So sometimes it's not necessary, and sometimes somebody will call me up and I will, whatever, ¿qué onda? I'll get the vibe and I'll say, look, you don't need to hire me. Go to your public defender, get the paperwork, and just sign it. And it sounds like you're eligible. When you need a private lawyer, for example, is you're still on probation, but you want to terminate early. Then we go through a motion. I write a motion. We submit a bunch of character letters, and we try to do that. But what I would probably do as a starting point for anyone out there is go to the criminal clerk window and get your docket printed out of all your cases, because then you're going to know exactly what happened and whether you're eligible. You might be able to just go to the public defender and take care of it pretty much for free.
Yeah, instead of hiring an attorney, huh?
Yeah, there might be situations where you need the attorney to overcome an obstacle.
Okay.
But sometimes it's as simple as checking the box, 1203.4, signing it, and being eligible.
I got a question.
Okay.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear methamphetamine?
So methamphetamine, I think I would say it like this. So, back in the 80s, there was a lot with cocaine solid, cocaine base, AKA crack. And methamphetamine in the 80s was pretty much, I'll just say, the motorcycle gangs were heavily involved. Then at some point that transitioned to, Country Code 52, got more involved, and now we see lower end stimulants aggressively coming over. So, from my point of view, there's penalty differences. The defendants tend to be a little bit different. But at the lower levels, for somebody who's using methamphetamine, they can experience some hardships and difficulties maintaining that lifestyle. And if you're arrested, simple possession used to be a felony. Just even if you had like a gram of powder,
Yeah.
And the move to downgrade that to a misdemeanor, I support, but also getting people treatment so that they can take care of that arrest if they successfully graduate from the treatment and not have that impediment of certainly not having a felony, not having the misdemeanor, and not being subject to the drug probation.
The reason I bring that up is
Yeah.
because I have friends, I have homies, whatever you want to call them, acquaintances, that have lost their mind on that drug. I mean, in the 90s, it was an epidemic, man. Everybody was tweaked out their fucking mind and up for fucking days. Next thing you know, they're waking up in the fucking in Parker Center. They're waking up in LA County Jail. They're waking up in whatever division patrols your area with the fucking hot one, with a murder, with a murder rap. They lost their fucking mind on that shit. So I'm just saying, I threw that out there, bro, just because, you know, I'm sure that, I mean, you've had clients that have, you know, made detrimental, huge mistakes in their life over that particular drug. You know, I mean, I just know so many people, so I would just.
Well, you know, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a rehab counselor. And sometimes, you know, in the course of my cases, I say, look, I'm not a social worker. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a defense lawyer. So real quick. So I did a case. It was actually my first gang murder case. And my client was a really charismatic, handsome guy. And what he told me is he's like, hey, Rosenberg, right? We're doing all this speed in the back. And I was up for 3 days. So when the cops got me, you know, he basically had an hour-long detailed confession. It's supposed to be first-degree murder for the benefit of the gang. And so what I did with that is I watched the tape, and you can see him yawning and falling asleep. He's alone and his head's down. So I said, look, we need a forensic toxicologist to tell the jury the effects of methamphetamine and to give them a reason to doubt this, quote, confession. So that's the world I'm in. What's the evidence and how does it relate to my client? I had another case. This was a murder, and the alleged victim was a known meth user. And he had priors for that. He had gun priors. And this is the decedent in the case, and I'm running a self-defense. So I got an expert. He's one of the top guys at his university. And what I wanted to explain to the jury are the effects of chronic meth use and recent meth use on the issue of paranoia.
Yeah.
And so the paranoia was the reason why our theory was this guy reached in his waistband and pulled out the firearm and racked it at my client. Well, the judge wouldn't let me put that evidence on. And so that's where that came in for me. You know, I understand what you're saying about social costs, but that's not really my advocacy. My advocacy is, here's my client, these are the charges, does meth, can it be a part of my defense or not?
Yeah. So check this out. What's the craziest case you fought, and what's the funniest case you fought? Either or, whichever one you want to.
So let me do the craziest because, you know, it's crazy. So, and I just first want to say this, okay? I'm just using the term.
Hey, before crazy, you want to take a shot?
All right. It's Labor Day weekend, I
Yes,
guess.
sir. Labor Day weekend, brother.
For the record, this is just water.
Yes.
So, in my experience, the people that they're really concerned about, the so-called top prison gang guys, legitimately some of the nicest clients I've ever had. They're funny, they're charismatic, they know the system, and legit, it's a pleasure to represent them.
Yeah.
Craziest case. So without naming names, client has done a very long federal prison stint. The day he's going to get out, he's extradited to our county, and he's literally like, he's thinking the bus is going to come in 3 hours, but that's not who comes. The feds come, they put him on a plane, they bring him to a task force location in, you know, Southern California. And all of a sudden he's hit with this new, basically third strike case.
Wow.
He sat in county. We defended this case. Long story short, we got the first one dismissed. The second one I managed to tie up. But while he was in county, the feds were secretly in the background waiting, and they indicted him. So basically, the theory was they had to hit him with something to tie him up so that they could build the case and indict him. So this was in 2013. During this time, a lot of things were happening. There's phone calls, there's different things. But the long and the short of it is that while he was in county jail, another huge indictment came down. So we did that trial on the first indictment. It was conspiracy to distribute drugs, 18 U.S.C. 846, and you look at the penalties under 841, 50 grams of meth and marijuana. The point is, it was a life case for the client.
Yeah.
He was the number one guy in the indictment, ample evidence of membership. That wasn't our issue. But after 7 weeks, we got him a not guilty. So we had 3 U.S. attorneys working for 5 years, 100,000 pages of evidence, hundreds of hours of phone calls. I was co-counsel with a lawyer. And the point is that, and this is not an exaggeration, since 1996, when you had the so-called Black Dan, Barela, RICO prosecution in Central District, that's the LA area, the number one defendant has not gotten a not guilty in that whole time. And that was the first RICO prosecution. There are people who are lower down who have gotten not guilties because people didn't believe the informant. But that was crazy, okay? You've got the number one dude. They said he was one of the most active guys in BOP, all kinds of phone calls, all kinds of stuff. But the point is finding the trial defense, picking the right jury, and we got him a not guilty. That is crazy.
That's fucking amazing.
That's crazy.
I mean, you had how many you said district attorneys? I mean, I'm sorry. They were fighting that case. They were building that case for 5 years. How many? What was it?
There were 3, we call them AUSAs, assistant U.S. attorneys,
yeah,
3
US
prosecutors working that case.
That's fucking amazing, man. I mean, we went in that courtroom and you whipped their ass.
Yeah, and again, the difference was that, we're state court lawyers.
Yeah.
So we go to trial a lot more than the federal lawyers.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of showed, the jury.
You were seasoned. You guys, it's like a fucking athlete. You know what I mean? You guys are in the gym every day.
Well, we tried. What we tried to do is not waste the jury's time, pinpoint cross-examination, get what we need, get out, and let the government lawyers bore everybody to death.
With just what, an exaggerated amount of information, and how would they bore?
So I don't want to get too technical, but under the federal rules of evidence, you have to lay the foundation for certain evidence. In other words, is it what it purports to be? Is it authentic? Is the chain of custody okay? And the government really spent a lot of time just saying these conversations should come into evidence. And the jury was just rolling their eyes because, in today's world with cell phones and, in 30 seconds, you can find out all you want about the country of Dubai. No juror has the time to just listen to all of this laborious evidence.
Gotcha, yeah.
They want to know, how does it relate to me? How does it relate to the case? And, in today's world, as a trial lawyer, you really have to focus because you need to respect your jurors' time.
Yeah. So you need to hit them what they need to hear, and that's it. All that long-winded shit, you need to filter out all the bullshit, huh? Man.
So that's the craziest case that I ever did.
The funniest case.
So the funniest case, I'm not really sure. I mean, there are cases. Well, let me just say this, okay? So as a defense lawyer, the people I deal with are the people who got caught, right? So there may be individuals out there who they're never going to need Rosenberg, right? Because they're just not going to be, in the system. So we do have cases. There was a guy I was trying to get a new trial for, and we were attacking the cell phone evidence. There were 3 guys, and they had stolen cars, allegedly. They had the bucket of water for the red dye on the bank, and one of the little dudes jumped over the counter, and it's not funny, but it's kind of funny. He left his cell phone at the bank.
Yeah, I've heard those stories before.
Because of that, it led to this, elaborate prosecution. So it's not funny, but when you hear about it, sometimes, it kind of makes you...
This is fucking ridiculous.
But just to let you know, that was a great writ that I did, and I was able to really attack the cell phone tower expert, because they always say, here's your phone, you're going to hit the nearest tower, and that is not always correct. In fact, often it's not correct, and the prosecutors use that all the time to try to say, hey, Rosenberg's guy was in that pie sector, he was right near the incident, and again, that's not always true.
Yeah. Technology nowadays, huh? Hey, so how do you feel about this, man?
Uh-oh, getting nervous.
How do you feel about this?
When his voice goes low, I get nervous.
No. This is it's actually funny to me, man, because I fucking see it all the time on social media. I see it on Facebook. I see it on Instagram, and I laugh at it every time when I see somebody post that says, by me posting this, they cannot the feds or the state or Big Brother or whoever you want to call them cannot prosecute them for whatever's information is put out there. Or do you know this post I'm talking about?
Okay, yeah.
Bro, what the fuck is up? I laugh at him. I'm like, bro, this isn't gonna, I feel, I don't know, but I feel that is not gonna stop the feds or whomever. If they want to tap into your shit, they're going to tap into your shit regardless. What are your thoughts on that?
So what's interesting about that is, and just real quick, so people were posting, I think it was about a week ago, to remember tomorrow, Instagram's changing their terms of service, and I do not authorize Instagram to use any of my content without my permission. Okay, so the thing with that is, and I'm not an intellectual property lawyer, but the terms of service are what govern the use of a program. And so nobody reads it. I don't read it. Nobody reads it. And you check, I agree, and then you have access to their proprietary app. So putting a post as a disclaimer does not defeat the fact that you have accepted the terms of service. So that's that. Now, let's say somebody posts something on social media that's potentially incriminating, or what we call inculpatory, and then they want to put up a disclaimer saying, hey, you guys can't use this against me. So the first thing is that you don't have an expectation of privacy in something that you make available to the public. So anything on social media, and trust me, I see a lot of stuff on social media that if they were my client, I would say, hey bro, you can't be posting stuff like that, you know? Posting the stacks and, the work and, whatever, the strap, that doesn't help me defending you.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
because all of that shit can be, all those pictures, everything can be brought up in a court of law, right?
Yeah.
Can be brought in the courtroom, right?
So what is interesting is this brings up, we'll just call it Supreme Court doctrine. So a long time ago, it used to be your bank records. If you expose your personal finance information to a third party, then you're waiving, and the government can come in and take a look at that. So for a long time, that was their position on cell phones. Well, the Supreme Court finally recognized a privacy right in a cell phone. So now your cell phone records are subject to a warrant requirement, which means a judge has to make a finding of probable cause. So the third party doctrine, when you post on IG, that is out there available. The flip side of that is, let's say as a defense lawyer, I want the victim's IG because I want their posts and I want something. There's recent case law that prescribes the method to do that. But I just will say this, it's not a level playing field, okay? The cops can have access to what they want. They can do a preservation order on a cell phone to make sure that the data is not lost. Every time I subpoena records from Google, Facebook, any cell phone provider, they have a separate number for law enforcement. So it's not fair. It's not a level playing field.
Yeah.
But those are some thoughts on that.
How about when you delete a conversation in your social media, if it's Facebook or if it's Instagram, whatever it is, you delete a private conversation, a direct message. Those can get pulled back up, can't they?
So let me give a two-part answer. The first answer that I want to give is that I actually spend a lot of time on forensics. So I go to a lot of seminars. I work with a lot of experts. So I believe that often in these horrible cases where witnesses are lying, victims are lying and embellishing, the forensics can catch people. So the answer is, let's say we have a cell phone and the cops do what we call a Celebrite phone extraction. Now they have to get a warrant. So they got the warrant and they have all this stuff. They may be able to see data that was deleted because the program's able to find it and extract it.
Yeah, pull it back up, huh?
Okay. Also, keep in mind that the data is often stored on servers that are associated with the providers, such as Google or Facebook. So I have a situation right now with a client where we believe that showing, and this is a case, it's a big case, it's a life case, it's a gang enhancement, but the key is that there's an informant, co-defendant who really is the most culpable. He's deciding to cooperate. But we believe there may be a way to show that that guy deleted and changed the defendant's contact information, and that could be a reason for the jury to doubt what he says. So, in my opinion, the defense should get a cell phone extraction expert and perform a very robust extraction, and we might be able to show that.
Wow.
And beat life.
Yeah. How do you feel about this new technology, man? I mean, is this little device right here, this iPhone right here, is it listening to us right now?
So here's the answer. The answer is that there are programmers in basically Israel that are at the forefront of this technology, and there are certain programs that have been established that may be able to turn an iPhone into a speaker, basically.
Yeah.
So the world I live in, anytime I send a text, anytime I send an email, my conversations, I try to imagine, well, what if a judge reviews this?
Yeah.
So in other words, being prophylactic is, in my opinion, the best way to go. But also remember, I have attorney-client privilege with my clients unless I'm the target of the investigation. And that actually becomes a very interesting area, to say the least.
Because it's pretty tricky, huh? Because, I mean, you got to really, I can imagine it being a slippery slope, being the fact that you really got to watch what you say without possibly becoming, becoming a freaking, a part of the case, right?
Well, I think this is the answer, and I'm going to try to make you laugh. If you go back to the movie, I think it's in Casino, right? Where they're in the little diving bell and they're in the water and they're having a face-to-face conversation so that the feds can't read their lips, and they're in the water so they don't think the wire is happening.
Yeah.
But in modern technology, are there apps that can hack into your system? There was a lot of litigation where the FBI was going into the dark web, creating child pornography and basically luring certain people in. And that's basically a form of malware So again, there's always going to be litigation from defense lawyers. Right now, as far as technology goes, the big issue is facial recognition.
Yeah.
So I think everyone knows that Amazon has their own facial recognition. Most people may be aware that in China, there's elaborate facial recognition. So when you're on the other side reviewing, they see your face, they give you a social value score. So basically, you know, this guy is making money, he's helping out, he's a good party member, this dude's a deadbeat. Okay. So the danger for us is, you know, recently the state legislature did a test of the current facial recognition software, and it misidentified 20% of the legislature members as people in the criminal database. So right now, there's been a movement towards the body camera, and the body camera films ostensibly from the cop's point of view.
Yeah.
My thing with that is often I want to see what the cop is doing back here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But if the police have facial recognition software on everybody and they say, hey, Latin male, early 40s, goatee, eyes, and they have so many data points, and they say, hey, I know this dude's got a warrant, felony traffic stop, the guns are out, and oops, it turns out that it's incorrect because we're able to challenge the facial recognition software. And then real quick, what the government and the software companies do is they make everything proprietary. So, for example, they won't tell us exactly how the stuff works because they don't want us to know too much about it.
Yeah.
Two examples of that real quick is there's something called the STAR Mix, which is a proprietary database for DNA. And the defense lawyer is not allowed to challenge it because they won't tell us what it is. And this is a good one. This is an example going back to the cell phones and the prison gangs. There's technology I think a lot of people know about called the Stingray. And the Stingray is a cell phone tower emulator that if this were a Stingray, it would convince this cell phone, hey, I'm the best signal and I'm going to extract your information, your MC, which is your cell phone identifier, and your location. Harris Corporation makes this technology, and the Federal Department of Justice has said it's a national security violation if defense lawyers can find out the technology. Damn. So what happens is if we have a case where we think the Stingray is being used, the feds tell the local DAs, do not give any information to the defense lawyer.
Yeah.
So in other words, there can be these black holes of technology that they won't even tell us about.
Yeah. You know what? I just trip on these phones, man, because there's times like, you know, I'll use an example. The other day I was sitting in my car, I was eating lunch, and you know, I'm on the job site, electrician, eating my lunch.
Which, by the way, is an awesome trade for anybody. Electricians, a lot of respect.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
A lot of respect.
You know, and likewise what you do as well. But so I'm sitting in my car and I'm having lunch, and I had this what's the brand of chips I had, man? Anyways, I got this certain brand of chips, and all of a sudden, you know, I had my phone. I was looking at my phone. I got my chips in my freaking lap. You know what I mean? You know, and all of a sudden I'm scrolling through, and all of a sudden a sponsored ad for those chips, exact fucking bag of chips, bro, pops up in my fucking timeline of scrolling. And I said, son of a bitch. Like, I said, this fucking camera's just watching us. It's watching what I'm doing. You know, I didn't type it in. I did nothing, you know, besides have my phone in front of it. It's in my lap. I got a sandwich, got a bag of chips. You know, I'm looking at my social media. It's lunchtime. What do you think of that? Is it coincidence? You know?
So, two-part answer. The first answer is that under traditional Fourth Amendment constitutional analysis, in other words, whether or not a search and seizure is valid, you have to have government actors. So if Google is out there somehow processing and figuring out, hey, I'm going to make money because I know Lucky's interested in whatever, spicy Cheetos. So I'm going to show him whatever, nacho cheese, spicy Doritos,
Why does it got to be spicy? Why can't it just be Ruffles or some shit like that?
I'm just making it up.
Do I look like a spicy type of guy or what? He looks like a hot Cheeto type of guy.
This is just for the sake of argument.
Oh, this fucking with you.
So the question is do you have a reasonable expectation of privacy? And the answer is no. Now, does that mean you have no privacy concerns? Obviously you do. People tell me all the time, hey, Rosenberg, this is really weird, bro, but I was talking about these cakes, and then all of a sudden my stream, all my ads, it was all about those cakes, and I never talk about those cakes at all. I think everyone knows that the data that we expose is being used, but data that we don't expose, and I'm trying to bring this back to cases and litigation that we see in criminal defense. I think a lot of people know that the Amazon and the Echo and the Google devices that are voice operated, that they were storing vocal data, they say, in order to make the algorithm better, but
Alexa?
Yeah, exactly.
Snitching everybody out?
Yeah, there was a case where the government subpoenaed Alexa data because they believed they would hear vocal evidence involving a murder. Now, that's why, Rosenberg tried to be off the grid. There's no way I would let Alexa in my home because we only find out about it when it goes too far.
Yeah.
And then really it's too late.
Fucking Alexa, man. Who made Alexa? This is part of the government, right?
So I'm not really qualified to answer that.
Yeah.
I think in general, what I would say is that military technology tends to trickle down into consumer technology. That might be an example.
Yeah.
Not sure.
And at the same time, they can fucking benefit from the fruits of it, right? You know what I mean? Hey, you guys are making fucking our job a whole lot easier. You know what I mean? Go ahead and use this military technology when we're in control of this shit, But, man, that shit just really blows my mind on just this technology and just situations like that and situations that you've had dudes talk to you about. It's everybody's talking about it, bro. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take a fucking genius to figure out what the fuck's going on. You know what I mean? We're being watched. We're being listened to. If it's for consumers to sell shit or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's trickling down. But this is a question I have. I have another question for you, bro. A lot of questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just let me know when you're done answering these. You're done with the questions, bro. But do this on federal parole. I do this on state parole. I don't know if you know anything about this, bro. I mean, so check it out. I know some dudes that have gotten out on federal parole, and they kind of just like fell back into their old ways, so to speak, right? And it just kind of sometimes it just like blow my mind a little. It's just like, bro, fuck you doing? You know what I mean? But federal parole, man, state parole. I feel like state parole, they're just like, get out of here. But I feel like federal parole would be a little more monitoring their guys, being the fact they have more money, they have more resources. You know any insight about that?
Well, okay, so in general, the feds have way more resources, way more money, and the easiest way to see that is when you drive by a federal courthouse that's recently rebuilt. It's an amazingly expensive building.
Yeah.
So the information that I have based upon anecdotal evidence as well as clients is that when somebody's released from BOP, they actually do a step down. So they'll usually do 6 months in a halfway house.
Yeah.
And during that period, they need to be looking for employment, et cetera. As far as a federal parole violation, I would expect significant consequences.
Yeah.
Now, in the state parole system, whatever, Lake Balboa Region 4, my experience is that if a parolee is arrested, law enforcement will contact them. But most of my clients will say, hey, Rosenberg, call my parole officer, dude. I've been reporting, I've been doing good, I'm testing clean, etc. So the level of involvement with parolees in the state system, I believe, is relatively low. Having said that, I've had clients who are on high control parole.
Yeah.
And high control parole, I would expect some door knocking.
Yeah.
And that's even in the state system.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what the high control parole is. Yeah, I just want to know if you know any insight in regards to like the level of like when it comes to. It seems like the state is a little more, less resources, big workload, feds. You know what I mean? I feel like the feds would be, some of these dudes are getting out and they were convicted on fucking, wiretaps, and I'm just wondering if like, these dudes are getting out, are they still tapping their phones or, I mean, I guess it just depends on the individual, right? If they feel like maybe they need to. I'm not sure how that works.
Well, you bring up something that I may not address exactly what you said, but I hope what I say you find responsive.
Yeah.
So, 20 years ago, you had local cops investigating within their jurisdiction, maybe 25 years ago. And then in recent years, we've seen the origin of the task force. So everyone in LA has probably heard of LA Impact, but there are so many task forces, and typically how they operate is the federal government is not able to prosecute every single crime that might actually be the type of crime that they would prosecute. So we see a lot of task forces where you have law enforcement agents from different agencies, and they can be from far away, and you have one federal agent, usually DEA or ATF. And then what happens is basically, I believe the feds use their superior resources and they give information to local law enforcement to prosecute. And how does that relate to us is if we have an arrest that occurs in jurisdiction 1 and yet the client is transported all the way over here to another jurisdiction and they say, hey, Rosenberg, right? It's got nothing to do with Fontana. Well, why did they take me to Fontana? So, we talk about that, and at the end of the day, yes, there are these task forces, and it's a way for the feds essentially to reduce their budget. And the reason that this is significant is that if you look at the federal penalties, you will be astounded at how easy it is to get a whole bunch of time for activity that in state court, even with strike priors and even with narcotics priors, the penalty is significantly less. So every now and then, even in my practice, I see cases where I say, hey, why is this federalized? There's nothing about this that screams out, this should be a federal prosecution. Yeah. And so I think for clients, sometimes they say, hey, Rosenberg, right? Why is this a federal? What's going on, Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if that is responsive, but we do see that, yeah. And we see these collaborations, especially on wiretaps.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing a lot of that nowadays. Mm-hmm. A lot of wiretaps, huh?
Yeah. So what's interesting about that is before I got super involved in some of these prison gang cases, nobody really thought that they would be wiretapping prison cell phones, okay? And then at some point, it became clear in my cases that they were doing that.
115 phones, huh?
Yeah, so what's really interesting about that is I think at one point the mindset was, hey, I've got a phone, maybe this guy's using it, this guy's using it, whatever, it costs $2,500 to get in. If they hit my house, I might get a 115, they might confiscate it, whatever. But there's evolved a new philosophy, which is, well, we're gonna go ahead and wiretap that phone.
Yeah, we know you got it.
So I see cases like that.
Where they're wiretapping.
And that's counterintuitive the first time that you hear about it.
Wow. Damn. How do you know when your phone's tapped? Is there a sign? You hear an echo?
So I don't necessarily believe in those anecdotal indicia. But what I will tell you is that at some point, if you are a target of a wiretap, typically within 90 days, you're supposed to get a target letter. Usually the government can extend that out and do delayed disclosure. I have not gotten one yet, knock on wood, but I do know plenty of lawyers. 2 years down the road, they get a letter and it says, hey, just so you know, your conversation was intercepted on this target telephone, just to let you know.
I mean, how many conversations are being intercepted these days, man? I mean, fuck.
So, well, let's talk about the policy, and I might be able to tie this into a recent case. So the first thing is that a wiretap investigation is supposed to be the ultimate last resort investigative tool, because even everyone on the court knows it's incredibly invasive, because when you use your phone, you expect that you're able to speak to the other party and be free from government intrusion.
Yeah.
But what's happened over the years is that the list of crimes that they're able to get a wiretap for has increased. And just so everybody knows, it doesn't matter, 629.52 California Penal Code, but basically any gang crime can be the subject of a wiretap. And that's what I challenged in this recent case in Ventura. So for a wiretap, the actual sitting district attorney is supposed to authorize it. So you would expect that it would be a limited number of cases. There's a lot of rules about how to apply for a wiretap. What happens is let's say you have 5 target phone numbers, then each phone that each number contacts can be the potential subject of a wiretap. So what happens in these wiretap cases is they exponentially increase, and then all of a sudden you do get a lot of different phone calls, and we get thousands of hours of audio. So that, I hope that's responsive. I believe that the wiretap law in California is too broad. I believe the wiretap law in California should be pulled back, especially as it relates to incredibly low-level alleged street gang offenses.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as you, I mean, is it just feds tapping the lines, or is it state as well, like the regular police departments?
Yeah, so the way that works is the district attorney in the county, or, you can put it.
You want this?
Are we toasting?
No, I want to give you this, brother.
No, I'm chill for right now.
Okay.
But yeah, you're good. So the actual district attorney is supposed to apply, and might be a narcotics detective from law enforcement who provides the reason, and then that goes before the judge.
Yeah.
In my experience, many times the wiretap is an offshoot from a previous investigation. So in other words, there's always some wiretaps happening in any jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And even not necessarily limited to that jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So we had a case where, and I don't want to name any names, but there were 17 wiretaps that were issued in San Bernardino County, and this led to a prosecution in Riverside County for an incident that occurred out of state, alleged to be tied into top members of a prison gang.
Yeah. And when there's a wiretap also is also text messages as well, huh?
Right. So the application can specify GPS, SMS, short message service. That's text messaging.
Yeah.
And then remember, if a cell phone is recovered, then it's possible that they can do an extraction.
And what if the cell phone is not in your name?
So the standard that I see is XYZ phone number believed to be used by target subject.
Yeah.
XYZ.
So it doesn't matter if it's in your name or not. I mean, I got a buddy that went and did some Fed time, and they had like 5,000 pages of wiretap on him. You know, and he was just he was getting the burner phones, and he just kept he had a feeling that they were on him, and he kept on recycling the phones, getting the 7-Eleven phones back then or whatever, and they kept on getting his number from his mom's phone because his mom's number never changed, and he always touched back down with mom's. But what do you think about that when dudes, say if this dude didn't touch back down with mom's, what if he kept his phone rotating every month? Does that keep you safe? Because a lot of dudes in the neighborhood, I'm sorry real quick, a lot of dudes in the neighborhood think, I've seen dudes in the neighborhood, they'll pull up and they'll have 3 phones. This is my personal phone right here. This is the one I talk to moms, my kids, baby. And then this is the phone that I do business on. And this phone that I do business on, it gets changed every month, once a month. What is he doing? Is he doing something right, or is he? Right.
So the answer is that as a defense lawyer, officer of the court, it's tricky for me to give prospective advice towards activity.
Yeah, I'm not.
But what I can tell you is under the California wiretap law, typically the prosecutor has to provide the judge with 10-day reports. And so the theory is that if there are no pertinent calls within a 10-day report or even a 30-day monitoring period, the wiretap on that phone should end because of safeguarding privacy interests. So if you can extrapolate what I just said to your example about a consistent family member phone versus other changed phones, I think I've answered the question.
Yeah. Okay. Man. You're giving out some good information.
And I just want to say that what's interesting about wiretaps is that, first year public defender, you're going to get a DV, domestic violence, a DUI, driving on a suspended license. I was lucky in my first 6 months, I did a felony trial, which was unusual. But when you start getting into the wiretaps, you're talking about tremendous government resources. And to run a wire room is very expensive. It has to have live monitors. And sometimes the investigations are so big that it can't just be the narc detectives and the narc cops. So they'll actually bring in these certified civilians who will just sit and listen to the calls. Some of them are bilingual.
Yeah.
So in other words, when you're dealing with these types of investigative tools, it's kind of the Super Bowl of criminal activity.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting.
And when you mean by Super Bowl, you mean on like the heighten of their fucking criminal career? Like, how do you mean like the Super Bowl? Like this is as big as it gets in regards to what you're doing? Like, bro, you got fucking wiretap, like.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're here in the West Coast, 213, 323, whatever, 909, whatever it might be.
Yes, sir.
But let's just go back to Hollywood rendition. Everyone thinks of, whatever, the Italian Mafia, Cosa Nostra. All of these tools, RICO and these wiretap tools, these were developed because of this level of activity. So all I'm trying to say is that when you see this extreme outlay of government resources, you're typically talking about more sophisticated defendants and operations.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, and what consists of, for an individual to get caught up in a RICO act? Is it just it's organized crime? Like, it's just an organization of crime will get you caught up in a RICO act?
So the first part of the answer is, again, we've talked about the difference between state court prosecutions and federal prosecutions. And we typically expect a federal case to involve, for example, interstate commerce, like wire fraud, somebody who's soliciting these Ponzi schemes that are all over and it's multi-million dollars. We expect, okay, that's a federal prosecution.
Yeah.
Under the RICO statute, 18 U.S.C. 1962, 1963 et sec, they have to show a continuing criminal enterprise. And a continuing criminal enterprise, as defined, often sounds similar to the definition, for example, of a criminal street gang or a prison gang. So sometimes what we see are state court conduct that the feds will federalize and turn it into a RICO. I'll give you an example of that. There was a fairly recent indictment against so-called Big Hazard.
Yeah.
And Big Hazard, in order to show these RICOs, they'll show overt acts because it's basically like a type of a conspiracy in essence. And the overt acts are all state court prosecutions. And so someone who might be a minor player in a state court prosecution, if there ends up being an overarching RICO, they actually may get swept in.
Yeah.
So that's what happens when we get these indictments unsealed and we see 103 co-indictees.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people at the very bottom who are obviously much less involved, who are attenuated, but they're named because the standard of proof to indict you is rather low.
Guilty by association or
Well,
or organization.
The standard is probable cause.
Probable cause. And when it comes to probable cause, like say I get pulled over. Say I get pulled over and I've noticed that the probable cause for my vehicle to be searched is not that I'm on parole, not that I'm on probation, but the probable cause is my parents. I've been in this situation a few times, and they said, "Hey, bro, are you on probation?" No. Here's my driver's license. Run it. It's clear. Can we check your car? Can we search your car? I said, why the fuck you need to search my car? I'm not on parole. I'm not on probation. Why do you need to search my car? And they'll ask me, bro, we're going to ask you again, can we search your car? So I've been in a situation, bro, that regardless, the officer is going to search the car. So 2 times I've said, you know what? Hurry the fuck up. I got somewhere to go. Do what the fuck you got to do, but hurry the fuck up. Just exact words, exact conversation. All right, cool. I get out. They search my car. But the probable cause has been my appearance. But technically, that's not in the umbrella of probable cause, right?
So the issue of car searches actually involves a lot of different constitutional doctrines. So the first thing I want to say is that there's California case law that merely being in a high crime neighborhood does not justify a detention or a search. So guess what? A lot of people happen to live in lower income, high crime neighborhoods. Even the presence of tattoos or, whatever, you're wearing a Florida Marlins hat in an area that they think that's indicia of being in a group, that is not necessarily enough to do a search. For contents that are in a sealed container, for example, a backpack or your trunk of your car, you need probable cause to go into a sealed container. But the standard is lower to do a search of the passenger compartment area. So here's kind of a typical scenario that I see with great regularity. So the officers say that there is a traffic violation. Tinted windows is probably one of the number ones or problems with registration. So somebody's pulled over, the standard on that is a reasonable suspicion standard. It's simply an infraction. What happens during the course of the conversation is the officer says, hey, do you have any drugs or weapons that I need to know about? And so what happens is some people will admit to that and then a search is on. But if you say no, then they'll kind of say, well, mind if I check? And so what happens is that these are different scenarios to obtain consent. And so, yes, are many non-consensual searches out there happening? Check. Yes, they are. When we file a motion to suppress, do judges start from the presumption that the law enforcement officers lack credibility? No.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? And I'll give you an example. I did a case where client, squeaky clean registration, squeaky clean record, nice car, little Toyota, not a flashy, not double deuce, was 22 karat gold, 24 karat gold. So he's pulled over, and then the officer keeps him there for about 20 minutes. The officer's a K-9 cop. So at some point, he just says, you know what, dude, I don't care. I'm bringing out the dog. And lo and behold, there's a bunch of work. I want to say 14 kilos in the back.
Work.
Yeah. So the point is.
It's an LA lawyer for you right there.
Okay.
Work.
So the point is how do we challenge that? So the cop, we had video, and I was able to walk the judge through all the time codes, exactly what was happening, and ask the officer, so we had a transcript on it. And eventually, at about 27 minutes, it was clear it was an unreasonably long detention. And there's a great U.S. Supreme Court case that says for a simple traffic stop, you cannot prolong the detention. So I got that case dismissed.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you that happens for me every week.
It doesn't.
Winning those motions to suppress are very hard. But let me just go back to something, because I want to kind of keep it real for people who don't necessarily get a case. The only cases we hear about is when they find contraband.
Yeah.
So how many of these consensual searches happen where nothing is recovered and people are pulled over, detained? A lot of people have their children in the car when this is all happening. So, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, it's prevalent.
I mean, when it comes to, I'll say an individual like myself, I have a past, but I've changed my life around, man. I don't live like that no more. I pay taxes, get up at the butt crack of dawn, I go work my ass off, I slave for my kids, I slave for my bills. I'm making all the right moves. I mean, should there be a point in time, bro, where maybe, maybe I should be given, I should be given a second chance in regards to, expungement with the record, or maybe a second chance with an even playing field like you have. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. That's how I feel these days, bro. You know what I mean? I've been doing well, and I have a lot of people that have friends, you know what I mean, that have records, man. They've been doing well, but at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. They get pulled over by them cops, they're fucked. You have rights, but you don't have rights. They can read it on our, it's written on our skin, where the fuck we've been at and maybe what we've done in the past, right? How do you feel about that? Do you think that, like, hey, you know what? In regards to, you said, I was talking earlier, you said, you can get pardoned, you can get certain things expunged, but, that the expungement, which you went over, doesn't sound too promising. I mean, you're still, it seems tricky,
Sure. Well, let me just say a couple things. So the first thing is when an officer pulls you over and they run a license plate, they're going to get vehicle registration information. There's a database in Southern California, it's called CLETS, and they can see if there's an arrest warrant or if you're the subject, say, of a domestic violence restraining order. It actually takes a while. So in our cases, the cop will go in the back and they'll be on the phone with dispatch for a certain period of time.
Trying to get the information, huh?
So what I'm trying to say is that a lot of this is, some judges, especially in the intensely difficult counties I worked in, they'll say, well, Rosenberg, that's good police work. So my point is that officers use a lot of intuitions about certain people, and when they see certain things, they're going to get aggressive in an investigation. So they're not necessarily going to see your full rap sheet. So what we call the California DOJ that lists all your arrests and everything like that.
They don't see that.
They're not necessarily going to see that, but they're going to see warrants and domestic violence they're going to ask you, are you on probation or parole? And sometimes we've had cops say, well, I knew that dude was on probation.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to verify it, because what happens if they're wrong? So at the end of the day, if someone's a convicted felon, right, they did their time. In other words, under the law, they served their sentence and they've completed their supervision, be it probation or parole. The chances of somebody passing a background check, work at Nordstrom's or Walmart or any big chain, is zero. In my experience, the labor unions have been willing to take people even if they have those records.
Yeah.
But, and those are great jobs, for some of my guys. There are groups like Homeboy Industries or Anti-Recidivist Coalition, Scott Bugnick, that are working with people with criminal histories to get them reintegrated. And so I agree with you. If we had a new code that said something to the effect of last 10 years clean in the license plate database, then that might be something progress. In other words, criminalizing people and holding them back. What's the lyric from 50 Cent? I got out the hood and you're trying to pull me back, right? So that's what you're talking about. You're talking about law enforcement creating obstacles.
Hip hop music? You
Yeah.
fuck with it?
Yeah, I've been listening, whatever, since NWA, back in the day, whatever.
What's your go-to?
I recently went through a PE, public enemy period,
Yeah.
given the politics. But, like when I'm in my car, I drive around a lot, so I either listen to the news or, Real 92 or Power 106,
Yeah.
because the rappers, like I say, they're rapping about the stuff that we do. They're talking about cases, they're talking about lawyers, they're talking about all these things, and it kind of keeps me going.
I mean, you're kind of like a rock star, bro.
Well, I don't think I go that far.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, are you living that lifestyle?
So I drive a plug-in hybrid.
Yeah.
Try to turn it down, keep it low.
Yeah.
Keep it.
Stay under the radar.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too flashy.
Yeah, I think that.
I mean, it's good on gas.
Yeah. We live in Southern California. We live in an area of extremes. I've traveled to different countries, and in some other countries, there's not necessarily an ostentatious display. The people who are doing it, they're kind of under. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's certain dudes that are fucking balling out of control, and they'll fucking dress like a fucking bum. You know what I mean? Yeah, I get it. And there's dudes that are fucking broke as shit, and they got their fucking, the best fucking clothes on every day. Which might be just one set of fucking whatever. Check this out real quick on what we were just talking about before I forget. 'Cause sometimes when you're talking, I've lost track of a couple questions I want to ask. I don't want to lose track of this one, but do I have to tell an officer, okay, so you just said when I get pulled over, they're going to look for domestic violence, they're going to look for warrants. That's all that's all that's going to pop up in their computer. Domestic violence or warrant, not the DOJ fucking list of shit that you've been busted for, right?
Yeah, they're not going to see that when they run your plate or your license.
Okay, so if they said, because I've been asked this numerous times, have you ever been arrested? Oh, you have been arrested. What were you arrested for? And I told this dude one time, I said, bro, it's none of your fucking business what I've been arrested for. I said, I don't have any warrants. I'm not on parole or probation. Now, if I didn't violate any traffic stops, and see, this is my bad right here, bro. This is you see where I'm coming off, and they fucking hate this shit. They fucking hate this shit. I got pulled over the other day. I get off of work, bro. It's fucking driving this car, the fucking air conditioner fucking went out of me. I get these little gas savers to go back and forth to work. I got a nice fucking truck in the fucking driveway or whatever, but it's just too expensive to run every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw that truck.
Yeah, you know, so I got these gas savers, dog. I mean, so I get this one, I have this gas saver, and the fucking air conditioner's fucked up on me, so I got the windows down. It's hot as shit. I take my fucking shirt off, my work shirt off. I got a slingshot on, you know, and so I'm driving four lane street, going one direction. Cops are all the way on the right side. I'm all the way over here. They're making a right. They got their blinkers on. I pass by them, and corner of my eye, I see them both break their freaking neck. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they fucking, instead of making that right, I mean, I'm going with traffic. I didn't run a red light. They fucking bust all the way to the left side of the lane. They get behind me. They're right there is a border of two different cities. They cross that border to the other city, which research that I did recently, they can do that. You know, they pull me over, and the first thing I told them is, I said, bro, they come up to my door. I said, bro, why the fuck did you pull me over? I said, you're profiling me, you know? And I hit him with a couple questions. And he goes, hold up. He goes, I asked the questions around here. He was upset. How do you feel about, I mean, I know there's a job they have to do. This is LA, right? Mm-hmm. They see a bald-headed dude, they see tattoos, what do they think? They think that he's got a gun, he's selling fucking drugs. You know, they're not thinking that, oh, this dude, you know, he's turned his life around, he's doing good, and he's taking care of a family, and he owns a fucking house. They're not thinking that. I get that. You know what I mean? Everybody judges. I judge. You know what I mean? Everybody judges. There's always a prejudge, right? You see someone and you form an opinion.
Sure.
If it's true or not. You know? I'll see some dude that's a little lightweight, and I'm like, man, this dude's fucking tweaking or something. You know, or I see some white dude with the fucking polo on and this and that, and oh, this dude's uptight. I'm making him uncomfortable. You know, it's just what people do, right? They don't like to admit it, you know? Anyways, so back to my question. Mm-hmm. Do I have to tell this dude that I've been busted and what I've been busted for? Can I say, hey, bro, check it out. I've never been busted. What are you talking about? You know, like do I have to disclose my personal information if I'm not on parole or probation and I don't have any domestic violence and warrants for my arrest?
So I think there's kind of two parts. There's a black and white legal textbook answer, and then there's what really happens out there every day. Right. So, and I'll put a shout out to a different set of lawyers. There's some guys called the Pot Brothers, and they've developed a script where it basically says, I'm not talking about my day, am I free to leave, am I being detained? And if they ask you potentially any more questions, you invoke your Fifth Amendment, and they call it shut the fuck up. The point is that during a vehicle traffic stop, the officer, assuming it's a good stop, reasonable suspicion, broken taillight, tinted windows, whatever it is, the officers are entitled to ask you for your ID and your insurance and your registration. And then typically the checklist is they go and they verify that information. Now, if in the course of doing that, they see a kilo with a dragon stamp on it on the seat, yeah, then they're in a legal vantage point and they're entitled to pursue that. If they see objective signs, red watery eyes, smell of alcohol, slurred speech, driving pattern, and they ask you, have you been drinking? And you say yes, then they may initiate a DUI investigation. In the course of that, if they ask you, are you on probation or parole? If you end up misrepresenting that status and they go in the back and they check it, I guarantee you it's gonna be a felony traffic stop. Yeah. But the point is beyond identifying yourself, showing registration and proof of insurance, can the officer engage in this, quote, consensual dialogue, fishing for information? Yeah. And the answer is that you really have no legal obligation to cooperate with that. Yeah. Now, the reality is, it takes a lot of, huevos to stand up to armed officers And I understand that. I do respect that. I've been pulled over. I've been detained. I get how that conversation works. The Supreme Court of the United States has said that even if the officer has a bad motive in pulling you over, whatever, I see, 3 African Americans, whatever, 3 Negros in the car, and I'm suspicious, I'm gonna follow my hunch and pull them over. If in the course of that they develop probable cause to search, that's okay, and that's a case called Wren. So the problem is that a lot of people out there are being targeted. We used to call that being a cop magnet.
Profiling, right?
Yeah, and so, what's the answer? The answer is that if contraband's located, if there's evidence of a crime, if there's a warrant, those are the cases that I hear about. But I want to tell you, my guys are the guys that the cops, they're on their number 1 list. And I've had people tell me, hey, Rosenberg, this is my client's dad. The cops have told me that they're not going to stop until we move out of XYZ city. And yeah, so I get it. And there are people who are targeted. Some of my guys, their pictures up on the wall at the station, and they're like, that's the number 1 dude.
Yeah.
I had some guys, I don't want to say the neighborhood, and I'm not exaggerating, when they sit on their front porch with the beer, they're gonna put the airship out.
Yeah. So
I understand, at least from that standpoint, what you mean by targeting and profiling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about when they were doing the injunctions, man? Because now it comes up that shit's fucking illegal as shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a good topic. So when I was a public defender in Ventura, I saw a lot of these gang injunctions. I don't know if I want to say the neighborhood, but whatever, it begins with a C. It's a big group.
Chicas.
Yeah, so we saw that a lot. And I've actually been down in that area more than once. So violating a court order is charged as a misdemeanor. We call it a 166A4 or an A9 for a gang injunction. So the gang injunction is supposed to be a civil court order, and it had been upheld for many years because the first line of attack for the defense lawyers was, hey, this is impinging on my First Amendment right of free association. I can hang out with who I want. I can wear what I want. And bad case law said, well, no, it's okay because public safety outweighs it, whatever. Recently, they came up with a better attack. And what they said is, look, by unilaterally identifying somebody as a gang member, it violates due process because that person should be able to challenge that determination in a court of law. That was the winning argument. That's why you see the gang injunction has not been relied upon in as many jurisdictions, and it's basically shutting it down.
There's things going on and saying that, hey, if you were served on the injunction, you have a right to money. Contact this lawyer. Blah 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 blah. Have you heard anything about that?
So I don't really practice tort law.
Got you. That's
but
different.
Here's the issue with that is, what are your damages? And so anytime you are experiencing something like that, if you were wrongfully named in the injunction, at some point you're going to have to show damages. Real quick, there's something called the CalGang database, and different people have been entered into the CalGang database. The CalGang database often was related to the gang injunction target population, and is also something that we see in our cases. Well, what happens if you were entered in at 18, but now you're 30, a homeowner, good job, middle-class lifestyle, but you're still in the database? In other words, was there a process to remove people and purge people? And the San Francisco public defender, Jeff Adachi, was one who litigated that issue and pushed back on that and said, hey, look, if there's no contacts with law enforcement after 5 years, those people should be sunsetted and taken out of that database.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, check this out.
Yeah.
I got a buddy of mine, right?
Okay.
And recently, his house got raided by the cops.
Okay.
Right? They found a cell phone. They took the cell phone. How legal is that?
Well, so based on that, there's no way to know. So let me show you my checklist, how I would approach that fact pattern. The first question is, was there a search warrant? If there's no search warrant, there are a few enumerated exceptions to a search warrant, and I'll give you the simple checklist on that. Let's assume there's no search warrant. Did an adult with the apparent authority to consent agree to the search? In other words, did my client's mom say, okay, you guys can come in, there's nothing here, have at it.
Do what you got to do. Yeah.
Okay, so consent is an exception. Another exception to a valid search warrant to search a home or an office is being on probation or parole.
Yeah.
They call that advanced consent, but I think of it really as a contract. We didn't max you out, so therefore you're getting a benefit, so you're just going to have to eat it.
Yeah, you got to deal with this fucking bullshit.
There's another exception that is potentially very interesting, which is called exigent circumstances. And some of this law is basically kind of BS or mierda. But one is if the cops see you and they have probable cause to believe that you just committed a felony and you duck into a doorway, there's a case called Santana that says that they can follow you in hot pursuit.
Yeah.
Now, I think there are some issues with that doctrine, but that's an exception to the search warrant. The other exigent circumstance is where they believe that evidence can be destroyed. There's actually, in my opinion, bad case law where somebody is suspected of being DUI. They go into their home, and because of the potential loss of evidence, the cops can enter. Another exception to the warrant rule for police entering a home and doing a search is what we call a welfare check. So on a welfare check, let's say the neighbor said, hey, Lucky's acting suicidal, we're worried about him, we go knock on his door.
Yeah.
And even if someone says no, everything's fine, under a welfare check, they may be able to enter.
Yeah.
So that would be my checklist. Now, let's assume there's a warrant or an exception. The question is, if the officer is encountering a cell phone, what's the basis of the belief that that cell phone is evidence of a crime? Because there is a probable cause standard to actually seize an article of evidence.
Yeah.
So if it's a dope case and they've been following somebody and they have a GPS, even if they don't have a warrant, they might be able to freeze the scene, get a warrant, and a cell phone might be evidence.
I think they had a warrant. Mm-hmm. They were looking for an individual. The individual they were looking for didn't live there, but maybe the officers felt that he was there. They went, they tossed the house up. They didn't find him, the individual they were looking for. I'm not 100% on the facts. This is just like secondhand information almost I caught, of the scenario, But while they were looking for the dude and tossing the house up, so they're looking for this dude and they tossed dude's house up. They went through his personal belongings. They found a cell phone. They saw some stuff in the cell phone. They took the cell phone. Can that be whatever that cell phone that they found, and say if there's videos in the cell phone, say if there was information, outside of what they were looking for, can that build a case on the individual?
So here's the checklist I would go through in a case like that. Let's assume that there's a constitutionally valid entry of officers.
Yeah.
Let's assume they have an arrest warrant, which means they're looking for a particular person. In the execution of a search warrant...
Hold on real quick.
Yeah.
I just saw a comment right here and it says asking for a friend. Everybody does this nowadays.
Yeah.
What is that right there, bro? Is that protecting me from something? There's no legality about that, right? Like asking for a friend, you know what I mean? Like,
so
I'm sorry, you were on some shit right now, dude.
No.
And I fucked it up.
We'll talk about that. People often claim that they're acting as a proxy for a third party.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't really matter. It should be the same case law if it's you in my office or it's a hypothetical. What we're talking about right now are hypothetical
100%.
scenarios, not involving any particular individual. These are generic facts which may repeat themselves. So let's assume there's a constitutionally valid entry and the officers have an arrest warrant and they're looking for somebody to arrest. So the first question is, can you find a person inside a cell phone? And obviously, you know the answer. So in the execution of an arrest warrant, the officer may be entitled to do a protective sweep to make sure that there's nobody hiding, in the bathroom who's got the shotgun like you see in the movies. But let's say everyone's out and they're still looking for this person and they don't find the person. At that point, they may be entitled to do a search based upon what we call the plain view doctrine. The problem with the plain view doctrine is it really has to be immediately obvious that this is evidence of contraband. With rare exception, a cell phone is not immediately apparent to be evidence of contraband.
Yeah.
So let's assume the officer uncovers it, that it was hidden. That's a separate search. But let's assume it's in plain view. If the officer seizes it, then we're still back into constitutionally protected grounds on a cell phone.
Yeah.
In other words, you would need consent or a warrant to get into the cell phone. That would be the checklist that I would go through based upon the limited facts that I have at my disposal.
Check this out.
Yeah.
What if you're associated with an individual as a friend, right? Mm-hmm. This individual has two lives, right? Say one life is a family life, and that's a part of the side that you deal with him on. Hey, we go to the snow, we snowboard. Sometimes we go out to eat. Sometimes he gets invited to the birthday party. You know what I mean? But he has another life that he does, and that's his business. Not involved in it. Say he gets himself caught up. Can guilty by association of, say, pictures, say just any type of connection to this dude get you pulled in to whatever the fuck he's doing on that other side of life that you don't even fucking deal with?
Well, so the answer I'm going to give is that it depends. Let me see if I can give you an example that we see all the time. Okay. Yeah. Let's say we have somebody who's on probation or parole with search terms. So that means, if you remember what they say at sentencing, submit your person to search and seizure by any peace officer with or without probable cause.
Yeah.
So let's say this person has those search terms, but they live with their new girlfriend in a nice part of town, whatever. You can say it's real bougie, and it's not the type of address that you would expect anything to be happening, but the person has search terms.
Yeah.
So the question is it reasonable for the officer to believe that the probationer or the parolee is at that address if they discover the person at the address in situations where there's shared spaces or common spaces? Are there limits on the officer's ability to search? And the answer is that sometimes there are limits.
Yeah.
So that's a situation that we encounter. Another situation that we encounter is, this is the doctrine of possession, okay? So let me see, I'll take this later. So everybody knows that this is actual possession. This is in my hand, I know about it, I can move it around. This is actual possession. Everybody believes that I might be arrested if possessing a lighter is illegal, right? But, and this is a good example, let's say now we have the lighter on the table and we have two people. So the scenario here is what we often call constructive possession. There have been many reports I have read where the cops are in a room, there's 5 people at a coffee table, there's the heat on the table, and the cops will say, hey, if somebody does not take responsibility for that, everybody's going in. So that's an example of constructive possession. You and I know it's there, and technically they have to show I intend to exercise dominion and control over it, but very often they'll say, you guys both constructively possess the lighter, even though it goes against our common sense view, which is it's your lighter, it's my lighter. Where does this come up the most is in a car.
Yeah.
So what happens in a car, let's assume 2-door coupe, there's 4 seats, 1 driver, 3 passengers. let's say there's contraband under the front passenger seat.
Yeah.
So what happens in these situations is it's possible for my client, who's the driver, who has no idea about his buddy throwing something under his seat, getting charged with that. And that's under a doctrine of constructive possession.
Yeah.
Obviously, they can try to do that to the person in the seat. They may have a theory that the person in the rear seat put it under there. Again, do I think it's fair? No, my clients tell me all the time, hey, Rosenberg, that's fucking bullshit, bro. I had no idea that fool had that. But yet, here we are, and here we are in court. So
Yeah.
I think that's responsive to what you're saying is if you do not have knowledge of activities and you're not associated and there's almost no evidence besides the fact that you were in their company, how fair is it to charge that person, search that person, etc.? And so the answer is it's really a case-by-case analysis.
Yeah.
And we look at all those facts.
How about this? Here's another
Okay.
scenario, bro.
This is like criminal procedure. This is like a final exam. In
Bro,
Crim
this
Pro.
is fucking badass. I'm gonna tell you right now, big dog. This is my favorite podcast right here. No disrespect to everyone else I had on, but this is fucking badass. And everybody is like, bro, this dude's legit. Blah blah blah. Like this is freaking amazing. I'm loving this, and thank you so
All right.
much.
Well, you know,
thank you so much, brother. You know what I mean?
Trying to chip in.
No, this is dope because you know, I mean, what made you want to do this podcast?
So I think what's interesting about the podcast is there's certain accounts that I follow. I may not have met the people, but I kind of have I see what's going on and I'm interested. They may follow me. They're interested. But coming here is like, you know, I've never been out here. I've done cases in Pomona.
Yeah.
But we're having this interaction that goes beyond social media and the digital thing. And so it's interesting. I'm learning things. You're learning things. That's why, you know, I'm interested in that. Obviously, it's good if my network expands. People are talking about it. But also, see, I'm hearing about what's going on, and I need to filter that in. I need to keep that in mind as I do, you know, my cases.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mutual exchange. It's a mutual benefit.
You're keeping yourself relevant.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah, you're staying relevant.
Yeah.
That's dope. I mean, I love it that you came through, man. You're spitting on this fucking knowledge. Check this out. So
Yeah.
I'm in a car, okay? The car's not in my name, but I'm driving the car. A firearm is found in the car. Car's not in my name. Can that firearm, and we talked about the lighter. You talked about the lighter.
Yeah.
Being right there. I'm sorry about that, bro. I mean,
No, that's
one of these days I'm gonna get some central. You know what's funny, bro? Check this out, dog. Check this out. My boy Jojo. Shout out to my boy Jojo, man. He must see the fucking the shine off our fucking foreheads right now. He just texted right now and he goes, I got you a portable AC. I'm gonna bring you for your podcast.
Okay.
Thank you, Jojo.
Okay.
I mean, next time you come on, bro.
Okay.
Maybe 6 months, whatever, you know what I mean? You want to come through, chop it up again, bro, but we won't have this problem.
All right.
I mean, I'm working on a new spot in LA area because it's, you know, it's kind of central, bro, you know what I mean? I mean, we just recently moved out here.
Yeah.
I'm getting familiar with this area. Like I said, I'm originally from Highland Park, Northeast Los Angeles. But anyways, we're in a position to buy a home, and this is a home, bro.
No,
you know
you
what I mean?
should. Building equity in today's market, always a good thing.
Yeah. So check it out. Back to my question.
Yeah.
I'm in the car. I'm driving the car. Firearm is found in the car.
Yeah.
And
That's all good. Don't worry about
yeah. Let me open this door, though. Oh yeah, I feel like cool air coming already.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, here we go.
No cross ventilation.
Yeah. That fucking window's closed over there too. But there's air conditioning over there. So can that firearm be charged to the individual driving the car?
So I get clients telling me all the time, hey, Rosenberg, I borrowed that car. I had no idea what was in it. And I'll give you a weird one because, again, I'm going to try to make you laugh. Somebody flagged me down at court. I did the interview, And he said, he bought this Beamer 2004. It's a clean car. It's a nice looking car.
Yeah.
His plates, everything was good, except his lens on the tail light was out. And that's why he got pulled over. For unknown reasons, this cop did a Green Beret search on this guy because he was on felony probation. He cracked the hood and he went into the air box, unscrewed it, and then he found a firearm. Now, my position is I agreed with this person that there's no way that he knew about it because, look, hypothetically, if somebody has a firearm in the car, usually it's easy access because of, that's how it is. So having it in the air box, in the engine, doesn't seem to fit that pattern. It doesn't really make sense to me. But try explaining that to a DA when the guy has a gun prior.
Exactly.
So what I'm saying is the checklist is still the same. Knowledge and intent to exercise dominion and control. Think of that as access. So can you be in a vehicle that's not registered to you and be charged with contraband validly located in that vehicle? The answer I've already suggested is yes.
Yeah.
Does that mean that we cannot look carefully at the facts and do a motion to suppress and potentially get that evidence suppressed? Yes. It's possible.
There it is there. Everybody listening to this. I mean, back in the day, the thing is, well, hey, if it's not in my fucking name, they can't charge me with that, blah, blah, blah. And it seems like a lot of cases have gone through and these dudes have beat these cases, being the fact that the vehicle wasn't in their name. But technically, like you're saying, if they really, really want to, they really want to get you, they're going to get you, right?
So I think this is... So the officers are trained in a way that they have these so-called consensual conversations like, hey, you got any dope or guns I need to know about? A lot of my clients are ordered out of the car. They're patted down. They're frisked. The cops will always say it's officer safety. I talked about that case where merely being in an area of high crime is not even reasonable suspicion to pat someone down. So it used to be like this. Let's say, early 2000s, mid 2000s. I saw an individual, Hispanic male. He's wearing a plaid shirt, white T-shirt. He's wearing like Dickies, short pants, white socks. They always say Nike Cortez, whatever it is.
He got the get up.
And he's in an area, let's make it 65th and Broadway.
Yeah.
For officer safety reasons, I patted him down.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, this is what I found. So we call that a Terry stop. In order to put hands on somebody and frisk them, ostensibly for weapons for officer safety, the officer has to have specific articulable facts that rise to a level of reasonable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot. So what happens through that is there's a lot of cases where people were charged based on these stop and frisks that were probably unconstitutional.
Okay. Hey, give me a second. I got to pee real quick.
Okay.
Check out some of your messages right there, man. You got a lot of, I don't know if you can see it, but right there in that.
I can't see it, but can I look at your phone?
I don't have it on my phone.
I don't have a search warrant.
Give me 1 second.
All right, so I can wheel forward, I guess. Okay, so I'll respond to a question I saw. Is he a Democrat or a Republican? Some people may be noticing that I wear a flag. One of the reasons I wear a flag is, for example, when we're doing federal cases, the U.S. attorneys are there. They say, XYZ for the United States government. And part of what we're saying is, as the defense community, even though we're representing people with these allegations, we're part of the United States, we're defending the Constitution, and that's what we're trying to do. So myself, my politics, when I was in San Francisco, registered Democrat, did a lot of progressive community organizing, So I would describe myself as a progressive criminal justice reform Democrat. But having said that, I understand that some people don't always understand the flag, so I always tell people, no te preocupes de mi bandera. Okay, let me go look at the next comment, and Lucky is imminently coming back. Hold on. Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend, yeah.
Okay, let me take this. Let me take Jennifer Jackson's comment, which is basically the worst thing is when cops say, well, what rights do you think you have? And, if you see officers, they like to go like this a lot. And, I understand, but it's physically intimidating. And like I said, it is difficult to respond to armed law enforcement personnel and assert your rights. So I understand that. When this stuff is on video, and I'll put another shout out to a guy that I follow, Mr. Checkpoint, at Mr. Checkpoint. He's got a hashtag AFTP, always film the police. And he does recommend putting your phone in between the seat and documenting the encounter. So when an officer engages in that behavior and says, well, what rights do you think you have? You have no rights. If we present that to a judge, that can be something the judge takes into account to say, hey, this officer is not being reasonable. And I mention that because that happened in my case where I had the 14 kilos and the canine search, and the officer said, I don't care about the Constitution, I'm gonna do the search. Prior to that motion, I gave the DVD to the judge so that he could watch it. And I do think that was a factor in that case.
Yeah. Hey, so check it out. I've kind of, I've not necessarily avoided it, but we've been just on so much, such good information, man. I didn't want to disrupt your flow of what you've been doing this whole podcast, man, which I fucking love it, man. But, Republican or Democrat?
Yeah, I responded.
Oh,
to
did
that
you respond to
while
that?
were out.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
So for your benefit.
Yeah.
So like I said, people see the flag pin, and some people feel like, hey, is that a Trumpster? What's up with that? First of all, I'll tell you, if you look at my caseload and you see my clients, you'll know the answer. But my point is, for example, when we're doing federal cases, we have the prosecutors, they're the assistant U.S. attorneys, and when they state their appearance, they'll say, Mr. So-and-so, attorney for the United States government. And what I'm saying with my flag is I'm a defense lawyer, I'm an officer of the court, but I'm from the United States. I'm defending the U.S. Constitution, and in a way, I'm out AUSAing the AUSAs. And the significance of that for me is going back to the cocktail party. Rosenberg, how can you represent all those guilty people? I can't believe it. Do you ever think that your client's guilty? The point is that we do defend the Constitution, and it kind of goes like this. Look, if a prosecutor can ethically prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, then under the system of the law, they're entitled to the conviction. But when there's cutting corners and they're not following the rules, they're not turning over exculpatory evidence that we need to know about, then that's where defense lawyers come in. So in a way, we're like the building inspectors of the Constitution. And
100%, yeah.
That's why
I mean, you
rock
got the
flag.
worker, you got the workers, and then you got the fucking you have the dudes that come in, the inspectors. You're a freaking inspector and making sure that everything is flowing in the right direction, and the motherfuckers are driving in between them fucking lines, and yeah. I like that, man. I love that, man. I mean, what do you think? What do you think about all this stuff that's going on with Trump, man? Like, are you a supporter of Trump?
So I'm not a supporter of Trump. The easiest way to say it is
you kind of answered that a minute ago. I'm not trying to because you
said
no.
I'm a progressive Democrat, and as I said when I was in San Francisco as a community organizer, I was definitely a progressive Democrat. And those are my personal politics. But again, I believe as a defense lawyer, it kind of goes beyond politics. But I will say this, the criminally accused, acusados, tenants, workers, plaintiffs, those are the folks that different lawyers represent. And those are the people, that I represent. So the workers who are injured, workers who are fired, tenants who are getting evicted, criminally accused, there is a continuum of folks. I should also add immigrants. And, people keep using the word immigrant. The words that I use the word undocumented. And a lot of my clients actually are undocumented and facing criminal charges. They can face dire immigration consequences. Myself, my wife was an immigration lawyer, and I actually wrote briefs to the Board of Immigration Appeals, and I had some success with that, particularly political asylum, and basically showing extraordinary circumstances. But the point is that those are the people that I represent. I don't practice those areas, but
you represent the underdogs in life, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't represent Microsoft trying to assert intellectual property and shut everybody else down. That's not the law I practice.
Yeah. So you're married?
The person I'm talking about actually passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that, brother.
In San Francisco very early. But she was a staff attorney at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. She was civil, so when I was there as an extern, I went in the criminal unit. And I will tell you that the difference between state court and federal court is very large. And, from the federal system, they would see our county arraignment docket, and, to them, it basically looks like a zoo. So it's very formal and very different.
Well, first of all, brother, my condolences, and I'm sorry for bringing that up.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, you're single now, and you're doing your thing.
Yeah, I'm working hard. I'm doing my thing.
Is it hard to is it hard to have a relationship when you're such a you're a freaking criminal defense lawyer, man? You have a caseload. Is it hard to maintain a relationship, a marriage? Does it fuck it up or what?
So one of the things about attorneys that I think a lot of people kind of know about is that we actually do work hard. There are lots of hours to prepare these cases.
Yeah.
My clients don't see it because they see me in court and everything's good. I'm prepared.
Yeah.
They have high expectations. But, behind the scenes, I used to be a cook in a restaurant. So in the back house, there's a lot going on that nobody in the front house sees.
Yeah.
So, we do work a lot of hours, and it can be tricky, especially two lawyers together. That's a wild combination.
That's a wild combination.
Yeah, that's a wild combination.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said, a wild combination. I mean, I can imagine. This is fucking, you're never right, constantly challenging each other.
Well,
Debates.
It kind of depends. So, the practice of law, I will say, being in the LA area is amazing. And, we're the second largest criminal justice system outside of New York. We are the largest jail system. We have hundreds of thousands of cases filed.
Fucking big business, bro.
There are so many different scenarios, high-profile cases. So for what I'm doing, this is it. Southern California, this is where it's at.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, if you're a lawyer, you're not going to be fucking practicing in Oklahoma. You know what I mean? And if you are, you're probably just one broke motherfucker. You ain't making no money.
No,
you ain't getting no good cases.
Every community, has its things, but, so I'll try to respond to that. So when we're picking juries, everybody comes in, and at least in state court, we can talk to them. We call it voir dire, jury selection. I'm gonna salute, but I'm gonna just use my eyes.
It's all good, brother.
Here's what I'm trying to say, is that, You know, I ask people, I say now, prospective juror number 14, you ever watch a crime show? You know, okay, yeah. What crime show do you like? And you see these little grandmoms, and there's like, I like Gangland, America's Most Wanted. And so people are fascinated with this world, even though they condemn it. But why do these normies watch all these crazy Gangland crime shows?
I came out on a crime show.
I'm sorry?
I've came out on a crime show.
Okay.
You want to hear about it?
Sure, yeah. You might show a clip.
No, I've looked for the clip, bro. I looked for the clip.
Yeah, tell me what was up.
Back in the day, the '90s, they had not America's Most Wanted. They had Bad Boys. What is it?
Yeah, Bad Boys.
Yeah, and they had Life on the Beat.
Life on the Beat. Okay.
Have you ever watched Life on the Beat? It was on regular TV, bro. You know what I mean? But I got arrested for a case, and when I was arrested in my neighborhood, they lined us all up. And they said, "Yep, we got him." You know, we're all facing a wall. Ton of us, you know. And they handcuffed me, and I smoked some PCP. I was fucked up. I mean,
some cool.
Yeah, I smoked a cool, man. I was like on another planet. You know, I felt like I had an astronaut suit on. You know, I was walking on air, you know? And I was like, yeah, this is cool, man. What the fuck's all these lights going on right here? And they spun me around, and when they spun me around, I had a fucking camera crew on me, you know?
Okay.
Had a camera crew on me, and I was like, oh shit, okay, this is cool, you know? I'm fucking high as fuck, feeling good. Join the movie. You know what I mean? I'm fucking starring in this movie. I don't know the name of the movie, but I'm good with it, you know? And go to jail, bro. You know what I mean? I got all these charges on me, you know? Next thing you know it, my mom, bro, is like super square, you know what I mean? You know, I'm kind of like my family's good, bro. Like my family, like my pops was quarterback for Colorado State.
Okay.
My pops is a chiropractor. You know what I mean? My mom's a medical transcriber. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a crazy profession, but like, I mean, they're working class people. Like, I mean, I broke the mold. You know what I mean? I fucking I fucking rocked the boat. You know what I mean? I fucked everything up. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I fucking I don't know if you ever like check it out, bro. Like, man. It was a picture of me and Muhammad Ali, bro. You know what I mean? When I was a baby, dog. You know what I mean? Like, I was supposed to be great. I mean, I was supposed to be fucking, you know, something special and shit in my pop's eyes. You know what I mean? You know? And I let him down. You know what I mean? But anyways, my mom's square. Back to being my mom's square. I'm fighting these cases. I'm 18 years old. I'm in LA County Jail. I'm fighting these fucking cases. They're robberies, bro. You know what I mean? And my mom's chilling with her husband. Her husband, he's white dude from Ohio. You know, my mom's Mexican and Nicaraguan, and she don't, you know, she just got a problem with her own people. You know what I mean? So she found this dude from Ohio that has a talent of getting on all fours and barking like a dog. You know what I mean? My mom's female chauvinist. She run the show, but anyway, she sees me. They're chilling out one night, you know, and watching TV. Just got done eating dinner, and there goes their only son, bro, on TV. Life on a beat, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, you know what I mean? I make her proud, you know? And, yeah. I mean, you're gonna be badass at a crime show too, bro. You are the next, what's that dude from America's Most Wanted? What's his name again?
I don't know,
What's his name again? America's Most Wanted, that one dude that he lost his son.
Okay.
His son
He's the host?
Yeah, bro, come on, you gotta know that.
I don't really watch crime shows, but let me tell you what, because I don't like Bad Boys. I don't like most of these crime shows because what happens is people get sensitized to aggressive policing, bad searches, rude behavior, and then they feel that that's the norm. And that's a potentially destructive thing. Like, I don't know exactly why you guys got lined up. In today's world, we have civilian cell phone video that has been used to document police brutality.
Yeah, it's
a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
And finally, I think we're piercing through that wall. When I first started picking juries, nobody would ever imagine that an officer would lie under oath.
Yeah.
It was just a foreign concept.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, like hell no.
but you know what I'm saying? These little old ladies are fascinated by America's hardest prisons, and the more extreme.
I'm fascinated by it, bro. I watch that shit.
Okay, so
and I've been on 4 yards.
Tell me, level 4. Tell me what's it about? What, from your point of view, you're watching the show, you see the guy, and just
it's real
talk
life.
Me through it.
It's real life, bro. It's real life. You know what I mean? It's not a fucking scripted movie. These dudes are fucking real actors and fucking and. You know what, bro? When I was a kid, man, my mom and her husband, this dude from Ohio, they were in some fucking crazy ass fucking cult church in Pasadena. It was called the Worldwide Church of God, man. I don't know if you ever heard of it, if you're familiar with Pasadena. But anyways, it was just they were just a bunch of program robots, bro. They were just telling them, don't do this, don't do that. Oh, here comes the fucking offering basket. Put some fucking money in that shit. Matter of fact, how much you make? Okay, you should be putting 20% of whatever you're making into this basket. Like these dudes, they were fucking just like program robots. It was ridiculous. I mean, I seen it back then. But anyways, I'm going off on a tangent about that, and that's not what I'm trying to talk about. But I would sit there, man, and I'd be like, man, if they fucking, I'd be sitting aboard this fucking church, and if they come in and then someone were to get the fucking minister or the dude giving the sermon, this is what I would do, man. I'd fuck that fool up. I'd take over this shit. I'd fucking blah, blah, blah. But I used to picture these things that I always do, and then I got into this, and I got into the gang shit, and then I started doing this fucking crazy shit that came out on fucking movies. I don't know why I'm fucking going on this tangent right now. What was the question you asked me?
I asked you, what's the draw to watch these Americans' hardest prisons and see these guys?
So the draw is it's just real life fucking action figures. You know, they're these. Bro, I bought you this water right here, dog. It cost me $3, dog. Right. I mean it's 9.5, all the good shit. I mean, this.
I don't know if that's real, but
bro, it's 100% real.
Okay.
No, it's real. Right. And the reason why I'm gonna tell you it's real quick is because when I was drinking heavy, which I don't know more. I socially drink like we're doing right now. You know what I mean? I'm having a good time. It's Labor Day weekend. I got the fucking badass criminal defense lawyer right here. I'm fucking really enjoying this, brother. But anyways, you can drink this while you drink in between, and you won't wake up feeling like shit tomorrow morning. Bottom line, that's what that shit does for you. But so with the draw to this is watching these shows is these are real live fucking action figures, man. These dudes are fucking just like, I mean, who doesn't love fucking crazy?
Okay.
I mean, do you want the crazy dude or do you want the boring dude? Like, this dude is fucking interesting.
Right.
Like, what the fuck did he just say? Oh shit, that might have been some metaphor or something. What did he really mean? People start reading in between the lines. Are just like, dude, crazy. I mean, in the 90s, crazy was in style.
Okay.
That's why gangs was in style. That's why the LA was just so fucking crazy because, and it's, the times have changed. It's not in style no more, but I tend to see, there's at times that I have my ear to the street, not involved in nothing. You know, I'm a fucking daddy, do all the regular shit, but it seems like things are getting a little crazy these days. What is it? You started in 2004 with your practice, right? Public defender.
That's when I started in 2005 as a public defender. Okay,
in 2005.
Yeah.
So 2005 to 2019, do you see a difference?
I do, but let me see if I can just go back because when we talk about criminal justice and budgets and how much money the feds hand to local law enforcement and, how militarized the cops are now. If you look at murder rates, and nobody really wants to talk about murder rates, but San Francisco or Oakland, if the murder rate hits 100, everybody has a panic attack. LA, we've had murder rates over 500. In 1992, 1993, that was the peak of violent crime in most American cities. Since then, violent crime has gone down almost 100%. Every year.
Yeah.
But now, even with so-called street gang activity lower, street side drug sales much lower, I believe graffiti is much lower. we still have larger criminal justice budgets. We have more militarized cops. So I think that is something that's worth mentioning as far as 2019, even in 2005. So I just don't know why these little old ladies that I'm trying to select for a jury, why they're fascinated. Like, oh yeah, this guy has so many facial tats, and but when it comes to my client, they want to lock him up. Here's my guy right here,
I mean, it's racism, bro.
I don't know.
I mean, it's a different era. I mean, if you get somebody our age, your age, and by the way, is it all right if I tell your age?
Well, I'd rather keep it on the low.
Okay, we'll keep it on the low.
You can have them guess.
But anyways, yeah.
Some comments, whatever.
Yeah, we'll go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and guess how old you think fucking Nicholas Rosenberg is, man. This dude is fucking shining like Jesus right now.
This guy's cracking me up.
Hey, I mean, if I knew you were gonna come in such a sharp ass suit, man, I was gonna say I'd have worn a suit, but I don't even got a fucking suit. I don't own a suit.
Traje. Well, let me just tell you. Let's talk about that. Fashion is a social conversation.
I mean, I love that you came like that, bro. You came fucking like, you fucking looking sharp, bro.
Well, I appreciate that.
Let's speak on it, though.
So, you talked about judging people and prejudice and ideas. When I wear a suit, I have to wear a suit in court, but when I'm wearing a suit, my client feels like, okay, Rosenberg, he actually went to law school. He looks like he knows what he's doing. It's a uniform, but I understand that everyone has their own uniform. And the difficulty is that when citizens see someone and they call, or, like African-American guys say when they see me, they cross the street, and you were kind of talking about that. Yeah. So when it comes to judging somebody's uniform, that's all out here.
Yeah.
And, when I picked a jury when I was young, I put up celebrities with tattoos because I want to try to demystify it. Hey, guess what? At one point, maybe tattoos were part of a social lifestyle, but now tattoos are mainstream, right?
100%.
Don't hold the ink against my client. And so how do we break down those barriers? You break down those barriers when you see articulate, entrepreneurial people who may have had a lifestyle, and you say, wow, that person is really doing something. And then the next time you see somebody that you might have judged, you might say, hey, for example, through Instagram, I learned there's a tremendous amount of entrepreneurial activity from a lot of the guys in East LA. So I didn't know about all these shirts and all these businesses. That message is a message that not everyone out there sees. So, I think that is part of that. But, I'll give you an example, right? In Japan, there's a little lowrider scene.
Yeah, and they all look like homies.
Yeah, so...
that's dope as fuck. Hey, speaking about the shirts and the entrepreneur shit, if you want to sponsor, not if you want to sponsor, but if you want to support what I'm doing right here, go to www.50racks.com. I have a Hoodstock shirt that's up for pre-order. You'll get it in a couple weeks. We're just, before we're printing it, we're actually just taking orders on it. You'll see what the shirt's like on www.50racks.com. Support the show and shit, man. We appreciate it. We want to keep going with this. We want to keep on putting powerful dudes like Rosenberg on this platform and, passing the information, so we appreciate the support. Shout out to Castile Concrete. That's one of our biggest sponsors right there. I mean, that's one of our only sponsors, to be honest with you. But shout out to Castile Concrete, man. We love you guys, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Go to www.50racks.com. Order the shirt, so we can just keep on evolving and we can keep on building on our studio right here and, giving you the best content as possible. Thank you so much, everybody that's watching. It's been in tune. But
Lucky, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
50 Racks. What's the origin of the name and what does it mean for you?
Okay, so 50 Racks, what 50 Racks is, brother, is 50 Racks is and this is a question that I wanted to ask you, and one of our viewers right here wanted to ask you as well. It's got to do with gentrification. 50 is a street in Highland Park. All right, 50 is a street that I grew up on Highland Park, and it really changed a part of my life for the good or the bad. It can be looked at both. You know what I mean? That's when I got into the neighborhood. You know what I mean? Was on 50. You know, my pops lives right off of 50. My pops bought a house in West LA for $500, and he moved it to Highland Park. You know what I mean? And he moved this fucking house, this Victorian house that he bought for $500 in the 80s, right? He moved it to Highland Park, and he moved it on one of the steepest fucking streets in LA, which is Eldridge Street. I mean, he moved it there, bro. It was all over the fucking newspapers, you know what I mean? But anyways, you know, he's a chiropractor, you know, my pops is a fucking trippy dude, bro. He's a really trippy dude. Like, he bought this house for $500. Oh, you bought this house for $500. Oh, what are you gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna move it on the steepest fucking street in LA. You know what I mean? It's a trippy dude. My pops is a complicated. He's always been in my ear, man. And that's kind of like what's always made me a little different than the average street dude on the streets. Because I had my pops in my ear. You know, this dude that just thinks differently. You know what I mean? He's Russian Jewish. You know, he was quarterback for Colorado State. He put himself through chiropractic school, not because he has a rich family, but because he had hustle. You know what I mean? You know, he paid for it himself on side jobs. You know what I mean? Whatever the fuck, odd end jobs. You know what I mean? You know, my grandfather, he was a boxer. He was a big time gambler. Back in the day, he would go to your door and he would try to sell you a vacuum cleaner. You know what I mean? You know, my family is crazy, bro. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm made from some strange parts, bro. You know what I mean? You know, and that makes me who I am. You know what I mean? And anyways, what did you ask me?
So 50 racks.
You talked 50. About so back to 50 racks. I'm sorry, I went off. Yeah, so I went off on that tangent. Sorry about that, brother. But anyways, yeah. So 50. It started off as anti gentrification. So the thing is I grew up on 50. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to raise the mission. The objective is to raise 50 racks, $50,000, and we're going to give 50% of the proceeds to displaced people due to gentrification. You know what I mean? The community looked at me and they said, man, I don't know, fool. I mean, you got a bad track record, dog. You've been fucking up the neighborhood for a lot of years, and all of a sudden you want to try to give us this positive pitch. I don't know if we believe you. That's what I think they were thinking in their head, which I understand it. So I said, all right. So they didn't support it, brother, is what I'm trying to say. They didn't support my 50 racks, you know what I mean? Because I had a bad track record and I'm pitching them this shit. I mean, saying, hey, check it out. Support this fucking clothing line. I'm selling you this shit, and I'm gonna give 50% of the proceeds to displaced families due to gentrification that's going on in Highland Park. You know what I mean? And they looked at me and they said, nah, fool, you trying to hustle us. I mean, they didn't tell me that, but that's what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? They didn't support it, so that's how the clothing brand started, bro. You know, what do you think about gentrification? What do you think about what's going on in fucking, you know what I mean, Highland Park, LA, period, bro? Like, I'm out here in fucking Pomona because of gentrification. I couldn't possibly afford a house, but let alone, I couldn't afford rent in the parts of LA that nobody didn't want to ever live. How do you feel about that?
Well, so, you know, when I was a community organizer, I spent a lot more time on stuff like that. I do know that, you know, I'm not running for governor, but I believe the best solution would be to allow people, first-time home buyers, to have low down payments, because if you're paying $2,500 or $3,000 a month in rent, you could be paying a mortgage. So the question, you know, is how do we do that? How do we make that happen? Some people would say, you know, should government get involved in that at all? So right now, currently in Sacramento, there's an effort to cap rental increases that Governor Newsom is supporting. How does that go? You know, property owners always say that's going to decrease housing stock. But like I said, I believe that, you know, people owning homes, starting their own business, often the barrier is initial either down payment or capital outflow.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, a lot of people have been commenting on social media about Nipsey Hussle and the fact that he was a successful entrepreneur who tried to give back to the community. And so what I'm hearing from you on the 50 racks is something like that, where you're not just trying to cash out and get the Lambo, but you're interested in some of the social justice issues.
I'm trying to get back, bro. I've been trying to get back, dog. I mean, I've been trying to like, man, they just, you know what I mean? When you got a bad track record, they're not sure they should believe you or not, you know what I mean? You know? And I mean, at this point in my life, you know what I mean? They seen how, like, I've been on a good path for 5 years. You know what I mean? Thank you, brother. I've been on the good path. I got 5 years under the belt of just like fucking, just like, you know, doing good. You know what I mean? But I don't know how long it takes to regain people's trust or people's respect. I get love all the time. They're like, damn, look, man, we love what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, you fucking busted you know what I mean, a 180 or 360 or this and that. I get all this shit all the time, bro. You know what I mean? You know, because I was a bad person, bro. You know what I mean? I was a bad person, bro. You know what I mean? I wasn't a good person, dog. You know what I mean? But at the same time, even when you're a bad person, there's still, you still live by certain rules and certain ethics. You know what I mean? You don't fucking, you know what I mean? You don't child molest. You don't fucking rape. You know what I mean? There's certain things you don't fucking do. You know what I mean? You know, and that's just the rules to the fucking game. You know what I mean? You know, but I mean, a bad person as in like, I just wasn't like, you know what I mean? You know, and there was a point in time where I said, you know what, I got busted for them robberies in '95 when I told you that I got, for that Life on the Beat, I came out in that fucking, that show on TV where my mom saw me, my square mom saw me. They're like, oh shit. I mean, we just got done eating motherfucking apple pie and motherfucking dinner, whatever the fuck they had for dinner that night. And they kicking back, ready to go to downtime. And they're seeing their fucking son on motherfucking, you know what I mean, TV and shit, you know what I mean? It's probably pretty embarrassing for them, you know what I mean? You know, because that's probably the way they looked at it. They said, oh, I wonder how many other people saw it. There goes my son right there. You know what I mean? Fuck, he let us down, you know? But, I made mistakes, bro. You know what I mean? I made mistakes, you know what I mean? But they made me a better person. I mean, I look at life so differently now, you know what I mean? And just because of the shit that I've been through, you know what I mean? I see life differently. You know what I mean? I have girls. I got a house full of girls, bro. You know what I mean? And I was a fucking womanizer, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? I was fucking like, man, I was running through fucking broads like fucking porno star, bro.
That's karma, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I got girls. I got a group of girls, bro. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh shit. And I swear to God, like that's karma, yeah. I mean, man, I just try to, it's crazy the way life works, bro. You know what I mean? And I started this podcast so I can have these conversations. Yeah. I mean, maybe so I can fucking, so people can see me now they're not in my immediate life or my immediate circle, and they can be like, oh shit, like that's a different dude right there. I mean, we're still seeing the same face, but that's a different dude. Hey, can you close those blinds for me right there, bro? I mean, a little bit. I don't like that glare that it's giving me. There you go. Perfect.
So, I mean, I think you bring up something that's interesting. We call it, you know, the quote, ex-offender.
Yeah.
So, in some level, being an ex-offender gives you a certain amount of credibility, and having that background can be a unique background that not everybody has. And it could mean that you're able to connect with somebody maybe that I can't connect with.
Yeah.
In a way where somebody says, okay, I get it, I'm listening, maybe whatever, it's a teaching moment. But, you know, a lot of the people, when I was a community organizer, I'll just tell you, my mentor was a two-striker. Yeah. And she was the person who organized.
That was your mentor?
Yeah, she's the one that brought me into community organizing. She had 2 strike priors. She was supposed to be with the Cubans in San Francisco, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But she used to organize the riots, 800 people, locked down the whole thing. And when she got out, she got clean. And when I met her, she had 20 years of sobriety. And the person who turned her on to community organizing was a guy named Johnny Spain. Johnny Spain was one of the San Quentin Six, and he was freed from prison because he had an unfair trial. He was wearing 30 pounds of shackles. And when he got out, he became a poet and a community organizer in the Tenderloin.
Yeah.
So my point is that the people I worked with were, quote, ex-offenders, ex-Black Panthers, people who knew what was going on, and they decided to do something different and contribute. It was a routine thing when some of the old police captains would say they knew who my boss was, and they wouldn't accept her for stuff that happened 25 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But she built up the community credibility because of her hard work and her activism, where people said, yes, that person understands what's going on, and now they're contributing.
Yeah. You know, bro, I wrote my homie a letter a couple months ago, and I said, bro, you know what, dog? I'm tired of being a bad person. I'm tired of being the bad guy. I want to be the good guy, dog. I mean, I like being the good guy, and I like the way it feels. I mean, I don't want to be known as the dude that you can't trust, the dude that you don't want to leave your old lady with, because he's gonna try to stick his dick in her, or just like doulo shit, like scandalous shit. Because man, in the 90s, man, it was so fucking cutthroat. Even with your homies, like you're fucking like these are your boys, like you're from the same neighborhood with, bro. And honestly, I mean, more than half of them you can't even really even trust them. Like they're fucking like, it's a dirty game. It's a cutthroat game. But any game is dirty and cutthroat when there's drugs involved. Oh, I trust you, fool. I love you, dog. Like, bro, how the fuck you trust and love that dude? That dude's high as fuck. You know what he'll do for the next fucking shit? He'll sell his mom. That's to a extreme level, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, some people are in the, quote, throes of addiction.
Yeah, but the game has been like, you know what, I have a saying. When dudes get busted, who's gonna take care of your old lady the best? Your own homie is. He's gonna take care of her good. When you get out, that pussy's gonna be warm.
Yeah, you're talking about being a Sancho. I got you.
I'm just saying in general, bro, it's a dirty game. It's a dirty game. I think that applies to the real world too. There's like, there's some dudes that they don't even need to be on drugs. They don't need to be a gang member. They're just fucking bad people. I think it applies all the way around. It's all the way around. So I wrote my homie this letter and I said, dog, I'm tired of being a bad person, bro. I want to be a good dude. I want to, just like, I'm raising girls, bro. I can't be a bad dude no more. I'm fucking, I do all the right things, dog. And I'm not trying to, like, anybody that knows me, they know I'm not painting a fucking false picture. It's just who I am now, dog. And there's some people that are like, just like, fuck, fool. Like, there's some people that are like, oh, like, you ain't down no more. You ain't with the business. Like, nah, I'm with the business. I'm gangster as fuck for my girls. You know what I mean? Do something stupid around my girls.
All right.
Beat your motherfucking head. I'm just saying.
When we do the gang trials, the government calls their gang expert, and everything they say is, people get jumped in at the age of 10, 11, 12, 13. It's all about respect, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I call my gang expert, and they'll say, people age out. And typically at the age of early 40s, somebody has a job, they own a house, they've got a family.
I fucking aged out.
They're pretty much aged out. But like I said, the difficulty is that people around them don't necessarily see that. And, I do want to emphasize, I don't judge my clients.
Yeah.
And so I'm not really the guy to talk to about reentry and rehabilitation and restorative justice.
Yeah.
Because the role I'm playing is different. I'm just trying to get the guys a fair shake in criminal justice.
Yeah.
If they use that as a tool to go this way or that way, that's not my role right now.
Hey.
I appreciate it. I know what you're saying,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I got nothing bad to say about it at all.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Choices that we make.
Yeah, we're just having a conversation. Yeah, but hey, check it out. This is something that I wrote in my notes. So I try not to. With you, I wrote some questions down. But usually I just I'll just go with the flow, man, and we just have a conversation. Like if we just were chopping it up, at a bar or something.
Yeah.
But anyways, I wrote this question down and I wanted to ask you this. And have you may not even want to disclose this type of information or share this story, if there is a story, but have you ever had a client's wife say, Rosenberg, I'll do anything.
Yeah, so I'll stop you right there. And, I'll just put it like this, right? There's no way that the Sancho thing is ever going to be anything that I'm involved with.
Yeah.
And, the reason is, like I said, you can run me upstate and I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's important to me.
What do you mean by running you upstate?
I mean, people say they check on me. Hey, what's up with Rosenberg? Is he good? Is he a plea mill? Does he suck? Is he just about money?
Yeah.
So
that's what I thought you meant, but I wanted you to define that.
I say, hey man, run me upstate, bro. I'm good.
Yeah. Check me out. Run my name, homie. Put that shit in a wheeler.
Well,
shoot it out.
I don't know about all that because
I'm adding extras to it, bro.
The position I take is I deal with cases that are already filed or somebody who's under suspicion of a case. Like I said, I don't do that.
Hey, so check it out, bro. We're at 3 hours right here, dog.
All right.
We're at 3 hours. Is there anything else, dog, that you want to put out there? Anything else that you'd like to, speak on? Anything else that you're doing outside of, criminal defense attorney? Anything we should know about?
Well, I do believe that, the role I'm playing it's like one chess piece on the board. And I really do respect and support people in their efforts, like, Father G, Homeboy Industries.
Yeah, Father Greg Bull.
Job training, employability, Scott Bugnick and the ARC.
I don't know him.
Anti-Recidivist Coalition. Check it out. He's the former producer of the Hangover movies, and he did juvenile writing seminars in juvenile hall.
Yeah.
He learned about the issues, and he became a criminal justice and rehabilitation advocate. A lot of my clients, when I talk to them, they say, yeah, man, go call Father G, and I'm amazed. It doesn't matter what neighborhood I'm dealing with. Everybody has a Father Greg Boyle story, which shows me the impact. I recognize the work, for example, of Alex Sanchez, someone whose story is, I think, uplifting. But because I'm doing the criminal justice role, I don't always get involved in that. But just to let you know, that's, the public policy ramifications and criminal justice reform is not necessarily something I have a lot of time for at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
I got 100,000 pages of discovery trying to lock my guys up for life.
Yeah, you're busy. You're busy as fuck. Hey, brother, well, check it out, dog. Thank you so much for blessing this platform. Thank you, man. You've dropped so many gems, and I knew this was going to be like this, man. I knew this was going to be legit. I mean, this is the first time we've had a conversation. We didn't even talk on the phone. Mm-hmm. We talked strictly through direct message and text message, and I just man, I felt so good about this. My buddy came over last night, and he wanted to, we barbecued, we drank a little, and I light drank. I said, man, I don't want to be hungover for this, dude. You know what I mean? I need to be as sharp as possible. You know what I mean? Even though sometimes sharp can be a little dull, you know what I mean? But I'm working on that. But I'm working on that, brother. You know what I mean? I'm working on that, and I will get better at what I'm doing in regards to, You know what I mean? Like, bro, like I'm interviewing you. Like, I have a GED in prison, bro. You know what I mean? And I get the opportunity. How many dudes like myself get an opportunity to interview a fucking criminal defense attorney and a fucking badass one too, bro? You know what I mean? So like, this is just like, I mean, shit. This might be a check off my bucket list. You know what I mean? Like, this is dope, dog. You know what I mean? This is super dope. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that we're having this conversation right here, opposed to me sitting in motherfucking Supermax or fucking Old County Jail, bro, behind a fucking glass thing, and we're pounding through fucking glass. Yeah. I'm glad I don't gotta go through the 30 seconds of checking you out. Yeah. You know what I mean?